Anderson Julio, pass Tarbell, empty net, Anderson Julio!
It's the middle of another long road trip for FC Dallas, which started on Wednesday with a crushing loss in the U.S. Open Cup against the New York Red Bulls in penalties. With their tournament hopes over, it's back to MLS play for the Toros this afternoon. Their opponent is longtime bogey team Seattle Sounders. Dallas is looking to double their win total at Lumen Field overall in this matinee matchup, despite not having Lucho Acosta. It's the back end of the Jesus Ferreira derby today as Dallas travels to Seattle. Along the lines of the FC Dallas Radio Network, it is the FC Dallas pregame show presented by your local Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. On today's presentation, we'll have the sounds of today's match. Our commentary team for the afternoon, Ryan Figert, Steve Davis, will join me to break down today's opening contest. But first, we bring back Steve Davis, who returns after a brief sojourn for a little afternoon soccer. This is a bit of a new experience for us this year, Steve.
Yeah, but I like it, Sam. It's gives it a little different feel, and looks like a beautiful day in Seattle. Sunny, 62. So let's play a little soccer. Let's broadcast a little soccer.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous there, and it wasn't super gorgeous in New Jersey this week while you were away, as Dallas played their hearts out, played one of their better games of the season, although the result would betray it after a 4-3 loss in penalties, post a 2-2 draw. And there's been a lot of discussion about it in the media circles, in the community itself, a lot of varying reactions to that match. I'm curious, now that you've sat with it for a couple days, you've talked about it on the FC Dallas agenda, how do you think about that game, even though the result probably isn't great?
No, look, the outcome is not great, of course, but I thought they played pretty well. What you hate is that you gave it 120 minutes plus the penalty kicks, and it's exhausting. It's reflected in the lineup that we'll get to in a minute. It's a tough one. I know the fellas are gutted, but listen, there is zero time to feel sorry for yourselves. You got to be professional, and I think on this one, Sam, you got to be a little philosophical. I don't really like a lot of war analogies, but in this one, we'll say that they lost a battle, but the proverbial war is still out there. You played well. Again, the outcome wasn't what you wanted, but technically it's a draw. Draws on the road. You play well enough to get a draw on the road. That's okay. So. Again, you got to be a little philosophical about it, and it's just time to get on with it.
Did not expect a war analogy this early in the afternoon, but here we are, and I don't think you're incorrect about that overall. Well, you mentioned the lineup. Let's go ahead and bring that out today for FC Dallas. It's Martin Paz in net, Marco Farfan, Osaze Uragide, Sebastian Biaga, Lala Sabubakar, Ramiro, Show, Patrickson, Pedrinho, and all Mononym midfield there, supporting Logan Farrington and Anderson Julio. And before we dig into the specifics, obviously with the team being on the road for most of this, we didn't really have a great sense of what the lineup might be today. So when you first saw it this afternoon, what was your kind of general take on it?
Well, I know you guys were a little surprised, but
that's a word for it.
I thought I don't know what you expected though. Again, 120 minutes. Some of the guys played all of that 120 minutes. You look at a guy like Paxton or Peter Musa, who are recovering from injuries. They played probably more than either of them one or two, but particularly Paxton. So did Marco Farfan. So it's tough, and what you have to understand, and what everybody has to understand, is that there's in the next 7 days they're going to travel twice and play two tough matches at Cincinnati and then Philadelphia at home. So there's this month has been grueling. This today will be, or by the time they get to the end of the week, it'll be 8 games in 29 days. That's exhausting. So there was always going to be some rotation, and you can certainly have your opinions about who got rotated, or which guys are sitting on the bench that aren't playing or whatever, and that's fine. But there was always going to be a lot of rotation. It was going to look different today.
Yeah, the international window at the end of May cannot come soon enough for a squad that's had to play so much and travel so much. Well, one player we knew was not going to play today as a result of last week's MLS action was Lucho Acosta. He's out on yellow card suspension, so he played all 120 on Wednesday. He gets a break, and obviously this is one of those, you don't have a choice. But could this be a good thing? Because we know he's had some struggles. He's played almost every game so far, but we know he's carrying around just a little bit of a knock. He's had some struggles. This is a turf field, so maybe you don't want him playing on that. This could be a small blessing in disguise with 2 big games coming up.
Yeah, what else he's carrying, though, is a memory of probably the best goal we're going to see this year.
That's true.
That he scored the other day against the Red Bulls in the Open Cup match. So, listen, is it a good thing? I don't know about that. Let's don't get carried away. But it doesn't have to be, to your point, it doesn't have to be an awful thing. There are positive elements here. Number one, he gets rest on that ankle that he's had a little bit of an issue with off the training ground a couple of weeks ago. It's another one of these, I guess what you call, Sam, a teaching moment where, the club has to learn to be a little less reliant on him. Eric Will talked about that a couple of weeks ago, and so we can get another match of that. And look, it's just a time for others to have to step up. When you get a guy like Peter Musa or Lucho Acosta out, it's time for the other guys to take up that slack, and it's an opportunity for them to do it. Pedrinho in particular, but the other guys as well. So yeah, one of your main elements is out. You've just got to you've got to find a way to raise your game 10%, 15%. And if you can do that, then you've accomplished something.
Well, moving back in the lineup, we see Marco Farfan get his first start since going out with compartment syndrome. He got a pretty substantial run out against New York due to the extra time added in. Also, no Shaq Moore today. He is on the bench, but you've got all 3 of your center backs starting. So we're not totally sure how that's going to line up. But a couple of things. First, let's start with Farfan himself. He looked closer to himself in the New York game. I don't know if he's got 90 in his legs today, but it sure is good to see Marco back.
Yeah, it is. And I wasn't surprised to see him look pretty good because Marco is a really intelligent player. I think he probably more than most guys understands his limitations, his strengths. He knows how to apply those things. So we've seen Marco Farfan, even though he's not the fastest guy, he's not the biggest guy, but he's always very good positionally. He's good in one-on-one battles, and I think a lot of that is because he just has a good ability to assess what he can do on a given day against a given opponent, but also in terms of what he has physically. So I wasn't surprised at all to see him come back nice and strong.
And you mentioned this on the FC Dallas agenda that was dropped yesterday. I wanted to expand upon it. We're talking about defense in general. You'd made the idea that one of the things Dallas has to work on is individual defending of those high-end individuals. We saw Diego Luna score a banger. We saw, some good work from Emil Forsberg on Wednesday. And, we didn't dig into it that much on the pod, but I'm curious, when you talk about that sort of individual defending, what are you talking about and how can Dallas improve it?
Just sort of a little bit more chess than checkers in terms of dealing with those high-level players, understanding that it's just a new level of sophistication that maybe some of the younger players don't have right now, particularly in the midfield, because I think the back line has been very strong. When we see mistakes, I think it's happening more in the midfield. It's Delgado or Anderson Julio being a little slow to react defensively. It's Ramiro fouling in the wrong places, something like that. So what I was saying the other day was just if they can add that extra layer of sophistication and understanding that something that goes off in your head and says, oh, that's Jack McGlynn. He's about to get the ball on his left foot, and then get there a second earlier than you would have. Or that's Diego Luna. We're going to need 2 guys ain't enough. Let's get the 3rd guy over there. Understanding those moments. But that's high-level stuff. But this is high-level soccer, and I just was sort of remarking that I would like to see people start adding that slowly to their games.
Well, I think we're seeing some of the guys growing that. Nolan Norris is growing that. Kaike is growing that. But there's still very much room to go. Speaking of defending high-end opponents, let's talk about Seattle. Dallas almost broke the streak last year up in Lumen Field. They were up 2-0, and then the game happened.
That was a crusher.
That was not real fun. That felt like the Red Bulls game a little bit last on Wednesday. But there is some hope for Dallas. No Jordan Morris tonight. You don't have Albert Rusnak tonight, but you do have Jesus Ferreira, and Seattle fans may hear that and go, because he's got 7 assists across all competitions, 5 assists in MLS. But you had a stat for me about Jesus Ferreira that, even though I knew he was struggling up in Seattle, just stunned me about what Jesus isn't doing there now.
Well, you're right. He's finding a different role. 5 assists in league play, as you said, 7 in all competitions. That's pretty good.
It is.
But Jesus Ferreira, a couple of years ago in Dallas, he matched the club record with 18 goals. Right now, he's barely even trying to score goals. He's taken all year. Remember, we're on, match week 15?
Something like that.
He has taken 8 shots. That's not shots on target. That's 8 shots. And he's got 2 shots on target all year. So he's not even shooting. Now, we've always known that he can be a setup guy, and that's sort of what he's turned into. But I also think at Seattle, it's a little bit of what we saw at Dallas, where they're still trying to figure out his best use. Their offense isn't bad this year. It's okay. It's sort of mid-table, but it's okay. But some of that is that some of it's Jordan Morris is out. Some of it is that they still haven't really found a Rui Diaz replacement. Some of it is that Pedro De La Vega hasn't been exactly what they wanted. But some of it is trying to figure out what Jesus Ferreira is and how the best way is to use him.
Well, they're still working on that. In fact, we'll talk about that a little bit in our third segment, some ideas that Brian Schmetzer had about it as well. But that is Steve Davis, who we know exactly how to use on any given day. Steve, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you in a little while.
Appreciate you, Sam.
When we return here on the FC Dallas pregame show, we'll have the sounds of today's match. This is FC Dallas Soccer presented by Toyota on the FC Dallas Radio Network.
This weekend?
Well, just took the Tacoma off-road, deep into the woods, got to this hidden campsite only it could reach.
Nice. I hooked up the boat to the Tundra and hit up the lake. Towed it like a pro. Had the whole lake to ourselves.
Hey, wait, did I mention I went rock climbing too? Uh-huh, yeah, thanks to the Tacoma's crawl control.
Well, sounds like we both had fun weekends.
Mine was better.
The Toyota Tundra and Tacoma are built for all the fun. Test drive at your local Toyota dealer or visit Toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. Feature availability differs based on trim. See Toyota.com for details.
Want to hear something incredible? That's Eleanor. Just 10 hours after being born, Eleanor was airlifted to Children's Health and met by our expert team trained in cardiac and critical care. At 4 days old, she received a stent to help her heart pump blood to the rest of her body. And today, she's a happy, healthy 1-year-old. That's incredible. That's Children's Health. Incredible together.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hi everyone, it's Logan Farrington, and you're listening to FC Dallas Soccer on the FC Dallas app.
Winner, winner, Chick-fil-A dinner all season long. When FC Dallas wins at home, fans win free Chick-fil-A. Be sure your Chick-fil-A app is up to date. Location services are turned on when you attend matches at Toyota Stadium. After the team wins, before you leave your seats, open the app to redeem the Chick-fil-A offer. Welcome back to the FC Dallas pregame show presented by Toyota here on the FC Dallas Radio Network. In our next segment, our commentary team for the afternoon, Ryan Figert and Steve Davis, will join me to break down the lineups, the tactics, everything you need to know ahead of tonight's showdown in the Emerald City. But first, I want to remind everybody about the FC Dallas Radio Network podcast feed, where we've got just oodles of good stuff. Of course, the postgame show. That's where it all started. That's where it all began. And it continues in its 4th year. You'll have highlights, stats, analysis, everything you need to know about the game that was in about 30 minutes or less. It's better than ordering a pizza in the 90s, baby. We get you everything you need in 30 minutes or less. But this year, the FC Dallas Agenda has joined it. What was once 1 became 2. That comes out every Wednesday on a normal match week, or in the case of 8 matches in 29 days. We'll usually drop around Friday, but we have big interviews, we have analysis, we have previews, everything one could want about FC Dallas. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, this week we will be out on Friday again, so just a little pre-warning since we have a match on Wednesday. But if I'm not mistaken, a very familiar voice, emphasis on that particular word, will be joining the podcast that day. I won't want to spoil it, but I think you're going to enjoy it if you're a longtime FC Dallas fan. So how do you get this great content for free? All you got to do, go to your podcast provider of choice, type in FC Dallas Radio Network, hit subscribe, and it'll be beamed to your phone. However that works, don't ask me to explain it. It just happens. But it'll be there whenever we do it for totally free. But now let's bring you the sounds of today's match, which we've got a 4-pack of people. It's Dallas manager Eric Quill and Dallas midfielder Paxton Pomacall, along with Seattle manager Brian Schmetzer and former Dallas forward Jesus Ferreira.
want a response from last night. I mean, I thought we played really well and deserved more from that game, and I think hopefully it's just one of those reminders that the margins are really tight and we've got to really dive into our focus and keep a full, concentrated effort for 95 plus minutes. This is a tough place to play, as we all know. So, but we got to stand up to these challenges, and if we want to go where we want to go, nothing should be in our way. We shouldn't feel like anything's in our way. So we got to take a go for it approach, leave nothing left in the tank, and see where it takes us.
Well, obviously, a couple results that haven't gone our way, so looking to see bounce back and try to get a result on the road, as we have so often this year. I thought we had a good showing in Red Bull, and unfortunately, the game didn't go our way at the end. But just a good showing and try to get some points. And obviously, it'll be nice to see a couple guys that we played with for a long time, and with Jesus. I mean, I was with him since I was like 14 years old, so it'll be nice to see him again.
Defensively and offensively, we don't know how they're going to come in. They're obviously a dangerous team because they have a ready-built excuse. We traveled all this way and we played 120 minutes, emotional penalties, but that works in Eric's favor. He can just play the underdog card and say, hey, let's just go out and play free. Let's compete. So I expect a good game.
I think it's always going to feel weird. Obviously, being the first time that I've ever played against Dallas in any competition, it's obviously going to feel a little bit weird, but I'm excited. I'm ready. I think it's going to be an awesome time, especially here that I'm in front of my friends. A couple of my friends flew in, and so I'm excited. I'm ready to see what we can do out here.
When we return on the FC Dallas pregame show, Ryan Figert and Steve Davis join me. We'll break down tonight's lineup and tactics. This is FC Dallas Soccer, presented by Toyota on the FC Dallas Radio Network.
UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, Texas, where discoveries change lives. The spark of collaboration that fuels bold thinking in our labs. The spark of inspiration that motivates greatness in the next generation. And the spark of innovation that pushes the boundaries of today's care. At UT Southwestern, teamwork and talent combine to fuel discovery, education, and healing. UT Southwestern, the future of medicine sparks here.
Welcome to the world of WinStar.
Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hi everyone, it's Sebastian Leggett, and you're listening to FC Dallas Soccer on the FC Dallas app.
Welcome back to the FC Dallas pregame show, presented by Toyota here on the FC Dallas Radio Network. We've got about 20 minutes from kickoff at Lumen Field, so let's go ahead and get you today's starting lineups, which are brought to you today by Advocare. We'll start first with the home side Seattle Sounders and ninth-year head coach Brian Schmetzer. It's Stefan Fry in net for the Emerald Green. You've got Nuhu, Kim Ki-hee, Yamar, and Alex Roldan on the back line. Christian Roldan and Obed Vargas in the midfield. Ryan Kent, Albert Rusnak, and Pedro de la Vega supporting Jesus Ferreira up top for the Sounders. And now let's bring you the starting lineup for FC Dallas and first-year head coach. Tonight for Dallas, Petter Musa, Siki and Sabali, Shaq Moore, Alvaro Augusto, Michael Colodi, Nolan Norris, Diego Garcia, Kaike, and Bernard Kamungo. And now let's bring in the commentary team for tonight's matchup, Ryan Figert, Steve Davis. And Ryan, obviously you and I were both here for the Open Cup game on Wednesday, and I think we shared some very similar emotions, some very raw emotions. But that was Wednesday. Now this is Saturday. Dallas has a couple of options. They can either come out swinging and really try to avenge it, or they can just be really tired from traveling and come out flat. I'm curious, which one do you think is going to happen and why?
Yeah, I thought it was actually very interesting to hear from Brian Schmetzer in the previous segment that he actually thinks this plays into Eric Quill's hand a little bit. I mean, that's kind of the opposite of what you would expect. I think, you know, as the Seattle Sounders in this perspective, you'd be happy to see Dallas go 120 minutes and have to fly completely cross-country New York to Seattle. So I think that was interesting from the mind of the opposition head coach to think this might be a motivating factor. You know, we played well. We got sort of robbed at the end. We deserve to win. We know these are the words that Eric Quill put out after the game, so we know that's how he feels and what he was saying in the locker room as well. So it can be a galvanizing force, but at the end of the day, it's about the players on the field, and Dallas is without some key pieces, and that's going to be a big part of the story of today.
I sort of feel like that message is more for his team than for public consumption, if you know what I'm saying. I feel like that's his way of reminding his team that nothing is a given. We've seen it at Toyota Stadium, or it works the other way. I think he's just reminding his team, you still got to go out there and take it to him. I'm not sure he really feels like in his heart it's really an advantage for Eric Quill.
Maybe the old Bo Parcells don't take the cheese kind of idea there, maybe. Well, no Lucho Acosta today, as we mentioned in that first segment. That means Pedrinho comes into that 10 spot, Steve. And, we've been talking about Pedrinho a lot lately because he's been getting some winger spots, and he's been the primary deputy for Lucho. And it's another opportunity for him. The only downside is he doesn't have Petter Musa to play off of. He gets Logan Farrington and Anderson Julio.
Yeah, but that's not the worst thing. You just got to figure out. It's on him to figure out. Here's what myself and Musa do well together, and here's what myself and Logan Farrington do together. These are professional soccer players. You got to figure those things out. And the thing I'll say about Pedrinho is that 2 goals and 2 assists over 454 league moments. That's 2 goals and 2 assists in about equivalent of 5 matches. That's good. Mm-hmm. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, especially when you're not a striker, when you're playing just a little bit further back in the formation. So I don't know that I ever see Pedrinho as being an everyday starter in Major League Soccer, but I do see him as a guy who can come in and maybe give you 10 to 12 starts a year plus another 15 to 20 appearances off the bench and be very effective in it, and that's exactly what we have today. Here's one of the chances to show he can be that guy.
Speaking of coming off the bench and being effective, Ryan, we're seeing Lalas Abubakar back in the lineup, and while we haven't officially seen what it's going to look like, we won't know until they actually take the pitch. It looks like they're going to deputize him at that right back spot with Shaq Moore on the bench after playing a considerable amount in New Jersey. And I don't think it was a bad thing when Lawless did it the first time, but maybe he just went on a little bit too long. This feels like a moment where Quill may have learned his lesson and could bring on some changes late in the match.
Yeah, I think we're looking at both fullback spots you'd expect maybe to see swapped out at some point. To your point, there's going to be a lot of defending today for sure for Dallas. And listening to Eric Quill speaking with the Apple TV broadcasters, he kind of talked about how he wants it to be, he wants to muck it up. He wants it to be dirty, and he doesn't care how it looks in the back half of the field, and then we'll play our football in the attacking half of the field. So that's what he's preaching, and bringing in a center back at right back. Obviously, it's needs must. There's not another deputy for Shaq Moore in the squad right now, but Lawless acquitted himself pretty well, I'd say, for 60, 70 minutes against RSL, and then if Shaq Moore is ready to go, they can bring him in, and he can provide that width. Same thing on the other side, Marco Farfan coming off of surgery, played some significant minutes in the midweek, his first real significant action back, but you don't think he's going to be 90 minutes fit. Luckily, you've got Nolan Norris there if needs be.
Yeah, the other right back deputy is playing at defensive midfield today in Ramiro. And Steve, when you look at that midfield today, it's Ramiro, it's Patterson, it's Show, and that is clearly a consequence of Ka'ike playing over 100 minutes, Paxton Pomacall playing 60+. I mean, the midfield is a little light right this minute, even with the news that Sebastian Lletget looks like he's on his way back soon.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. It's also a consequence of Lletget. So, I'm glad that they're not playing Paxton, to be real honest with you. Having played an hour the other day, I don't want to see necessarily Paxton Pomacall in a late May game in Seattle. I want to see Paxton Pomacall in June, July, August, and et cetera, et cetera. So, you're a little light. It's a tough time because of all the matches. This is a chance for Cho to demonstrate why he needs to be kept around. His loan agreement expires in June, so they've got a big decision to make. This is a chance for him to show why he deserves to stay around.
Yeah, no pun intended there, Steven. I want to give a shout-out to Jonathan Blundell in our YouTube chat, mentioning that Farrington and Pedrinho actually had some great connections last year in the playoff run for North Texas, so they've got time, they've got experience together. Obviously a bigger stage at Lumen Field today, but they have at least some experience playing together in the 11. And
you look at the bench for Dallas today, you've got Siki, you've got Diego Garcia and Ka'ike. If you need to make some changes in the midfield, it's something you can do, albeit you're probably going to have to play at least 45 to 60 with what you've got out there. Let's talk about Seattle, because they are coming in an interesting way. Obviously, you've got no Jordan Morris today, no Danny Musovski today. They're both dealing with injuries on the front end. On the back end, Jackson Reagan is close to returning, but he's not there just yet. So that means old Dallas friend Jesus Ferreira gets to start at the 9 today. And Ryan, we talked about him a little bit in our first segment. 8 total shots, 2 of those on targets, no goals. Does have 5 assists in MLS. But, boy, that is not the Jesus Ferreira that we came to expect in Dallas. And talking to some folks in Seattle this week, it's not what the Seattle Sounders fans expected either.
Yeah, I mean, 7 assists in all competitions is a really solid number. If he even had, 1-2 goals, you'd be talking about a very productive season so far. But for him to start at the 9 today, it's a big opportunity. He's going to have, some very high-quality wingers around him. Ryan Kent has looked really solid since signing with the team recently, and Pedro de la Vega is a designated player. It hasn't always worked out for de la Vega, but he's had some good moments this season, so there's a lot of quality for him to play off of. But I think today, in particular, down there two, go-to central strikers in Morris and Musovski, they're going to ask him to, play the central striker role, and we'll see how disciplined he can be. That was an issue over the past year when he was a member of FC Dallas. Can he hold the line? Can he test the line in behind? And he's matched up against a good one in Osaze Urguide, who held him scoreless when Seattle came to Dallas early in the season. Musovski was the one lone goal scorer in that one, not involved today. De la Vega, I think, maybe had his best game of the season in Dallas earlier in the season. It was his shot that hit the post that fell to Musovski for the goal. So I'm more looking out for the wingers and how can Dallas deal with them, particularly whoever lines up on the left for Seattle, most likely Ryan Kent up against Lalas Abubakar.
I mean, I've got some faith that Dallas can keep this game in low scoring and have a chance to do something at the end. Because look, when I watch Seattle this year, they can move the ball effectively into the final third. They just look a little bit lost as to what they really want to do from there. So, on the other hand, by the way, as always, they're going to be effective in the press, specifically in the counter press. That's one of the things that Jesus Ferreira always did well here. So that's where Dallas, I think, is vulnerable, to that counter press. So can't be messing around in the back today with the ball.
Especially when you consider Albert Rusnak, who I incorrectly identified as being out, is in today. He's got 6 goals, 3 assists. He's the leading scorer on the squad right now. And even Brian Schmetzer said in his pre-match briefing, they've talked to Ferreira about not dropping as deep, being more closer to the box, although that does feel a little bit of a familiar...
Good luck with that.
Yeah, it feels a very familiar refrain in that way. Speaking of familiar refrains, let's talk about the keys to the match, which this week are brought to you by Toyota. And for those, we go to Steve Davis.
Well, this one isn't going to be a big surprise. Number one, you just got to dig deep on this one. A lot of guys played a lot of soccer Wednesday, and then they took a 6-hour flight across country. It's tough. So you got to dig deep. Show us what you have. Show us some determination. Show us the dog that Eric Quill wants from this team. And that said, it brings us to number 2, which is it's easier to do that if you play high IQ soccer. Smart movement, smart fouling, simple play, fidelity to the game plan. There have been times this year when Eric Quill says the plan wasn't 100% followed. So be efficient, be economical in your movement, and that gives you the best chance. And number 3 is something we just talked about. Banging out of the back. Sometimes that's okay. Seattle's counter press is just too good to mess with. Dallas got beat 2 years ago in the playoffs with a bad giveaway out of the back turned into an Albert Rusnak strike. So that was the only goal of that game. So when in doubt, kick it out. And those are your keys as presented by Toyota.
Well, last year, Dallas almost broke the Seattle curse with Peter Luxon at the helm, 2-0, and then they went back down 3-2. It was a rough experience, but they hopefully will have learned from that. Eric Quill has stated, even as far back as the first fixture when Seattle came to Frisco, he wants to get this monkey off their back. He wants to break this idea that Seattle is just Dallas's bogeyman, and also that he just wants to beat good teams, which is something that Dallas has struggled to do at times this year, specifically at home. But they get a chance to reverse the curse up at Lumen Field this afternoon for a matinee matchup. It's Seattle, it's Dallas, it's the Jesus Ferreira Derby, and it starts in about 60 seconds as we end today's pregame show. When we return, Ryan and Steve will get you ready for this showdown in the Emerald City between the Sounders and FC Dallas. You're listening to FC Dallas Soccer presented by Toyota on the FC Dallas Radio Network.
So, what'd you do this weekend?
Well, just took the Tacoma off-road, deep into the woods, got to this hidden campsite only it could reach.
Nice. I hooked up the boat to the Tundra and hit up the lake. Towed it like a pro. Had the whole lake to ourselves.
Hey, wait, did I mention I went rock climbing too? Uh-huh, yeah, thanks to the Tacoma's crawl control.
Well, sounds like we both had fun weekends.
Mine was better.
The Toyota Tundra and Tacoma are built for all the fun. Test drive at your local Toyota dealer or visit Toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. Feature availability differs based on trim. See Toyota.com for details.
UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, Texas, where discoveries change lives. The spark of collaboration that fuels bold thinking in our labs. The spark of inspiration that motivates greatness in the next generation. And the spark of innovation that pushes the boundaries of today's care. At UT Southwestern, teamwork and talent combine to fuel discovery, education, and healing. UT Southwestern, the future of medicine sparks here.
Hi everyone, it's Maarten Paas, and you're listening to FC Dallas Soccer on the FC Dallas app.
Well, 50 hours ago, over on the East Coast, FC Dallas season took a true gut punch, bowing out the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup in penalties. a cross-country flight, and a couple days later they have to pick themselves up off the mat and dig deep this afternoon. It's an early start in a venue which has been the furthest thing from friendly confines over the years. The Seattle Sounders hosting today, and they are unbeaten at their home fortress, Lumen Field, this season. They've only lost once in 17 home games all time against FC Dallas. And in speaking with the media this week, Eric Kuhl, he spoke about how he wants to change the narrative around this matchup, and after the disappointment of a defeat at home against the Rave Green a month ago, it's another opportunity today for them to try and do so. However, with that quick turnaround and for a variety of reasons, Dallas is far from their strongest lineup tonight. No Lucho Acosta at all through suspension. No Petar Musa from the start because of rotation. They'll need contributions from elsewhere to try and pick up a result that could shift the momentum of the season. I'm Ryan Figert. We thank you so much for joining us here on the FC Dallas Radio Network, as I'm joined by, of course, Steve Davis today. We're getting a look at the lineups here. And Steve, a ton of rotation, a ton of opportunity. I'm looking particularly at these front three, Pedrinho, Logan Farrington, and Anderson Julio. We've seen moments from all three of them this season, but in particular, Logan Farrington, even in an extended run with Musa out, he hasn't reached the heights that we saw last year. What do you put that down to? Where do you see Logan's game at this point?
A little bit is just maybe the old-fashioned sophomore slump. Last year he didn't expect a lot out of himself, and we got a lot out of him. We got to see a lot. This year maybe you start expecting it, and it becomes a little bit harder. He'll be fine eventually. It's just he's at about 85% of what he was last year with small margins in this league. That makes a difference, but he still manages to be a problem out there for other teams.
Yeah, and on the other side, Seattle, so much depth in this team. I mean, everywhere you look, you're looking at the injury list. No Jordan Morris today, no Musovski today, and they've got a former best 11 player starting up front in Jesus Ferreira. I mean, this is the depth of this team. They're on the cusp of playing in the FIFA Club World Cup as one of two, maybe three MLS participants in that, and their squad depth is showing today. They're bringing in Ryan Kent, who they signed recently, starting Jesus Ferreira at the 9, and bringing a DP into the 11 as he hadn't been starting recently. De La Vega is who I'm speaking about, but I think I want to focus in on Albert Rusnak because everything sort of runs through him ever since he came over from Real Salt Lake. He is so important to everything Brian Schmetzer wants to do in the attack, Steve.
He's carrying the team right now, or he's at least before Musovski got hot lately. So Rusnak is really smart in his positioning. He's an intelligent guy who can make a moment like he did last week. He got the goal against in a rivalry game against Portland by going between the defender's legs, and we've seen that before from Rusnak. So good player, smart player.
Well, the sun is shining in Seattle today for an afternoon kickoff. FC Dallas and Seattle Sounders coming up here on the FC Dallas Radio Network. We'll have kickoff for you on the other side of this break.
So, what'd you do this weekend?
Well, just took the Tacoma off-road, deep into the woods, got to this hidden campsite only it could reach.
Nice. I hooked up the boat to the Tundra and hit up the lake. Towed it like a pro. Had the whole lake to ourselves.
Hey, wait, did I mention I went rock climbing too? Uh-huh, yeah, thanks to the Tacoma's crawl control.
Well, sounds like we both had fun weekends.
Mine was better.
The Toyota Tundra and Tacoma are built for all the fun. Test drive at your local Toyota dealer or visit Toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. Feature availability differs based on trim. See Toyota.com for details.
Welcome to the world of WinStar, the casino of FC WinStar.
Want to hear something incredible? That's Eleanor. Just 10 hours after being born, Eleanor was airlifted to Children's Health and met by our expert team trained in cardiac and critical care. At 4 days old, she received a stent to help her heart pump blood to the rest of her body. And today, she's a happy, healthy...
Pushes the boundaries of today's care. At UT Southwestern, teamwork and talent combine to fuel discovery, education, and healing. UT Southwestern, the future of medicine sparks here.
Hi everyone, it's Sebastian Ibiaga. Tonight's FC Dallas match is up next, right here on the FC Dallas app.
Well, welcome you back to Lumen Field as we're just about set to get things underway. FC Dallas on the road at the Seattle Sounders. And an MLS legend being honored before kickoff, and Stefan Fry, who recently made his 400th appearance for the club. Incredible mark for him. He's also played the 4th most regular season minutes in MLS history. And Steve, that sort of underscores a point about the Seattle team. Just so much experience on their side. I'm going to read this off for you. Just going through the lineup today. Fry in his 15th season. Roldan in his 8th. Yamar 6th. Kihi 3rd. Nuhu 9th. In the midfield, Rusnak 9th. Obed Vargas in his 5th at the age of 19. Christian Roldan 11th. The point is made. There's so much MLS experience in this lineup compared to the Dallas side, who's had to rotate and has a real lack of experience. That should play into how this one plays out today.
Yeah, and 11 debuts this year, I think, for FC Dallas players. So it's yin and yang, it's black and white, it's cat and dogs, whatever you want to say. It's opposite.
Yeah, but on the other side of that experience, experience, perhaps, in the Seattle back line. Kim Keehee, 35 years old, who's been rotated into the team with Jackson Reagan, picked up an injury in Frisco earlier this year. Yamar hasn't been at his best, although he's a two-time best 11 player. Now he's 32 years old. There may be some opportunities for Dallas, particularly with Anderson Julio, to get in behind that back line.
No, I think Yamar was downright poor a couple of weeks ago when I watched him against LAFC, and then last week against Portland, I think he was like 0 for 11 on long balls. He kept trying to play long balls that were completely ineffective, so their defense isn't quite what it's been in the past.
And on the other side, Dallas going with all three of their senior center backs in the lineup. Osaze Urguide, of course, has been ever present this year. Is the only Dallas player to play every minute of this season in all competitions. Sebastian Ibiaga alongside him. Marco Farfan making his return to the Pacific Northwest, the former Portland homegrown, up against Seattle today, and Lawless Abubakar at right back. At the very least, there may be struggles in building from the back if Dallas chooses to do so, but that should be a pretty solid back line defensively.
Yeah, I don't really think I love Abubakar at right back for a home match when you're going to do a little bit more attacking, but when you're just going to do a lot of defending, as I anticipate today, don't mind him at right back.
Yeah, and the lineup today, it just deserves a little bit of context, of course. Obviously, the Wednesday game going 120 minutes coming up as well. A trip to Cincinnati, one of the hardest venues to go, maybe outside of Lumen Field in all of Major League Soccer. That's coming up on Wednesday. And then they host a potential Supporters Shield contender in Philadelphia on Saturday. And these situations, these are headaches for Eric Quill, Steve.
Opportunities too, and I know that's a little bit of cliche, but it is the case, and we have seen teams come into Toyota Stadium completely rotated and walk out with all 3 points. Look, I'm not being naive. Very tough thing to do up at Lumen Field, especially for this team, which has had very little success up there, but hey, you're telling me there's a chance.
Dallas with one win back in 2011 against Seattle all time. Since then, 11 losses and 4 draws. Their most recent result a couple years ago via a Bernie Kamungo goal, who's available amongst the substitutes today. Getting a look at the head referee, Alan Chapman, in the middle today. 262 MLS games, a very experienced official. Not a great record for Dallas with Chapman at the helm, 6-10-6 all time. Assisted today by Mike Nickerson, Nick Balser, the fourth official, Alexis De Silva, and Chris Pinso in Arlington at the VAR. Stephen Fry taking his position in the goal down to the left. Martin Paz down to the right. Both goalkeepers wearing the captain's armband today with no Lucho Acosta due to yellow card accumulation for Dallas.
A little bit strange there. I don't remember too many games where I see both goalkeepers wearing the captain's armbands, but here we are.
Well, Stephen Fry certainly has earned it. A 38-year-old veteran who's won everything there is to win with Seattle, and Martin Paz, one of the longest-serving players for Dallas now, alongside Marco Farfan and Paxton Pomykal. And he only arrived back in 2022. Such has been the turnover for this team.
It's hard to remember now a time in Seattle when Stephen Fry wasn't the number one there. It's been since 2014. I think it's pretty easy to forget that Stephen Fry actually was the number one at Toronto, and then had a couple of bad years before he moved on to Seattle.
We are underway at Lumen Field. A long ball from Seattle, headed away by Sebastian Ibiaga, retrieved by Marco Farfan, who tries to clear it down the line, immediately put under pressure by De La Vega. Wanted the foul, and it is given.
Marco Farfan is so smart about that, just knowing how to position his body and sort of draw those cheap fouls that he just did on De La Vega. De La Vega playing on the right side, sort of what we anticipated with Ryan Kent, who's been playing on the right. He moves over to the left wing for Seattle.
Dallas in the red and navy, moving from right to left in this first half. Seattle in their anniversary rave green and light blue, moving from left to right as Martin Paz launches it long. Yamar sending it back the other way. Urguide wins the header over Jesus Ferreira. And then Show puts his foot through it up into the air. Patrickson, his first involvement, a venue in which he had some success last year, goal and an assist. And he's got the ball here, trying to go through the middle. Pass just off the mark, looking for Logan Farrington.
Yeah, I think that needs to be more of a checking ball. Farrington checking back in as opposed to Farrington running in behind. We mentioned that Keehee's 35 and Yamar's 32, but I think Yamar still got some pretty good speed. He's probably not going to win that race.
Ball out wide on the far side, bringing it forward is Nuhu, poked ahead for Ryan Kent, the English winger. Chips the ball into the box towards Jesus Ferreira, gets the header on towards goal. But off target, Martin Paz was sprawling to make sure. A good early opportunity for the Dallas homegrown.
Yeah, Dallas's back line not looking 100% solid there, with that ball leaking through on Seattle's left side, and then the challenge. I wouldn't really call it a unchallenged header, but definitely had position there over the FC Dallas back line.
Ferreira scoreless so far for Seattle, though does lead the team with 7 assists on the season in all competitions, launching it long.
Mentioned in the pregame that's only his 9th shot total this year.
There's another ball over the top for Dallas to deal with. Urquide, awkward one there, puts his foot through it, sending it up the field. Delgado got a touch on it, but it's good work through the middle here from Obed Vargas. Vargas on the dribble towards the 18, goes down, waved up by Alan Chapman. Dallas looking for some sustained possession. It's been all Seattle here in the opening 3 minutes, and they've got a free kick, a chance to lift this one into the box from about 40 yards out.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out a little bit of Dallas's defense here, their shape, because I keep seeing Ramiro somehow back behind the ball, or that is ahead of the ball as Seattle gets in behind him. So trying to sort that out.
They're going to have to defend the set piece here, and it's going to be Rusnak setting up for it. 3 targets to aim at, now 4 across the Dallas penalty area. De La Vega holds width on the near side. Slovakian international raises the left arm, lifts it into the box, header flicked on towards goal. Martin Paas makes his first save comfortably there.
Don't like to see the first 2 balls sent into the penalty area, one by guys in the green shirts there. That's the second one, so Dallas needs to be winning a few more of these balls inside their penalty area.
Show there with the ball forward, easily turned over, looking for Patrickson, who deflects it out of play on the far side for a throw for Nuhu. Time on the ball for Kim Ki-hee, who's made his return after a couple of seasons in Seattle, 2018 and 19. Back from time in the Korean League. Here's a ball switching from Roldan out to the far side. Ryan Kent receives it now. An overlap comes from Nuhu. Ryan Kent in behind for Nuhu. Nuhu to the byline. Cutback cross. Defended by Farfan. Top of the box. Helped away there by Pedrinho. A lot of joy on the far side right now for Seattle in the opening 5 minutes. And it's Kent once again now sizing up Abubakar. Abubakar goes to ground and comes away with the ball that time. And now it's going to be Show on the dribble to bring it forward. His pass just straight out of bounds. Turns possession over to Seattle. Dallas still without any real consecutive passes to start this game.
So it almost looks to me like it's some kind of a fluid 4-4-2 for Dallas. Right now it's Show and Delgado and Logan Farrington as the highest, as the front 2 it looks like. Anderson Julio on the left, Pedrinho on the right, and as they defend out of a 4-4-2.
Show beaten to it in midfield there by Alex Roldan, but Pedrinho there to recover possession. Now poked ahead, looking for Farrington, defended by Ki-hee.
Again, it's trying to go through the line or over the line and have Logan Farrington run onto it. Maybe that's the game plan today, but you wonder how many of those races Farrington can win.
Oh, here's good work from Show now driving forward. He's won it from Roldan, looking for options either side. Ball in behind, looking for Julio, but that one's behind him. And that's the 3rd pass straight out of bounds from Show in 5 minutes to start this game.
And Julio is pretty upset about it. I think the ball was just mishit because Julio definitely wanted that ball played in front of him.
Well, Dallas's midfield at least able to clog it up on that opportunity and create something out of the pressure. It's been a difficult start to the season for Show, and that's continued here in the first 5 minutes in Seattle.
Yeah, but you're right. He did really well to win that ball.
Here's a giveaway.
In the midfield.
Farrington now on it inside the 18. Pedrinho set him up, looking for options. Set back for Pedrinho. Low shot, dragged off target. Dallas popping up in some passing lanes, creating 2 straight opportunities.
Yeah, and I love how quickly they turned that defense into offense there. Logan Farrington pushing that ball, maybe not into the best spot for Pedrinho. Maybe he could have played it a little bit more in front of him, give him a little easier ball to hit.
Down the right side now for Seattle. De La Vega with Alex Roldan supplying the width back to Yeimar without his usual center back partner Jackson Reagan. Those two have been at a best 11 standard for a couple of seasons now together. Switched over to the far side. Kent coming deep to receive it.
Yes, all right. It's definitely 4-4-2. That's not sort of what we expect. It's not a diamond.
De La Vega swings across in. Urquide defends it at the edge of the 6-yard box, putting it behind for a corner, first of the game. It's more akin to what Dallas worked on in preseason, actually, with Patrickson sort of playing as a 10 before the arrival of Lucho Acosta.
But I don't really see it when they get the ball. He's not really dropping underneath Logan Farrington right now. He's sort of playing off of Farrington.
Rusnak going to line up this corner kick, and they're going to run something here from the training ground. Vargas offers a short option now back to Rusnak. Going to send the cross in, blocked by Ramiro. And Ramiro picking his head up, doesn't see anything. Back heel to Pedrinho. Now Pedrinho lifts it ahead. Chested down by Logan Farrington. Dallas playing out of pressure well there. And now Pedrinho spreads it out to the far side. Abubakar can bring it into the attacking half. Entry ball looking for Patrickson, off the mark there, and maybe both players not quite in their most familiar roles.
Which is not a big surprise. I think we're going to see some of that today. But that time, Ryan, Logan Farrington checked back, took the ball off his chest. We know he does that well. Got the offense going, so that's what I want to see more of, and not trying to play in behind with him.
Seattle building through some Dallas pressure. Now space for Alex Roldan, back into midfield for his brother Christian. Switching ball out to the far side. Ryan Kent takes a couple touches to bring it under his spell. Drop of the shoulder, past Pedrinho. Ryan Kent now on the dribble into the 18. Ryan Kent gets the shot away, blocked by Ibiaga, sliding across the turf. And now Pedrinho dribbling on the edge of his own 18. Got it to Farfan, whose clearance was blocked. Now Alex Roldan, wide right for De La Vega. De La Vega sends the cross in, appeals for a handball. And it's still not cleared. Jesus Ferreira from just in front of the goal. Somehow Martin Paz makes a huge save, and that was just a mess, and a lot of it self-inflicted for Dallas.
Pedrinho's got to be smarter than that. I talked about high IQ soccer. You cannot take the ball on the right side of your defense, dribble across the top of the penalty area that way. I mean, you're just begging to have something terrible happen, and they came very close to having something terrible happen there.
Well, Jesus Ferreira with 2 shots from inside the 6-yard box. We're getting a look at it here. First one saved by Paz, second one saved by Paz again. That is actually a fantastic double save from the Dallas keeper. And now here comes the Seattle corner. Rusnak into the area, headed away by Ibiaga. Ramiro beaten to the second ball by Vargas. Now Ramiro puts pressure on Rusnak, the original taker. And it's out for a Seattle throw. Rusnak got a bump from Ramiro as he was trying to re-enter the field. I don't think there's any intent in this, but the yellow card is out for Ramiro.
But we talked about it. I've just talked about it again. You know, Ramiro takes too many bad yellow cards. Pedrinho, the back line is so solid this year. It's midfield that are making defensive errors. Now Ramiro's got to drag this card around for about 80 minutes or however long he stays on the field today.
He was sent off with a second yellow card in the Open Cup on Wednesday. Now Julio puts his foot through it, gets some distance behind this clearance. Foot race to it is won by Nuhu. And he's also already been suspended for a game in MLS play, has Ramiro. It's not uncommon for the defensive midfielder to pick up a few yellow cards here and there, but they haven't all felt necessary, to your point, Steve.
No, you want him to pick up the yellow cards in a moment that absolutely needs the yellow card, not on a, delaying a throw-in.
Here's a poor switching ball from Nuhu, intercepted by Anderson Julio in his own half. Now has really no passing options and tries to go on a dribble through the middle. And it's turned over. Seattle with numbers in the attacking half. Kent dropped off for Roldan. It's Alex Roldan bringing it forward on the overlap. Overload here on this right side. Christian Roldan finds Kent. Nice anticipation there from Abubakar, stepped in front. And now foot race for it. Patrickson battling with Nuhu. Nuhu holds him off and able to get turned back facing the Dallas goal, but then too much there from Nuhu. Gives it away to Show. Now Show can drive forward. There's actually a numbers advantage here for Dallas if they go quickly. Patrickson, though, slows it down and plays a quick 1-2 with Show before dropping it all the way back to Ibiaga, and the impetus of the potential counterattack gone. But here's Patrickson again in the pocket. Receives it from Show out wide right for Pedrinho.
That was such Nuhu a minute ago, because 9 out of 10 things he does, he's a very effective defender, and then the 10th thing is just a complete head scratcher, and he's always been that way at Seattle.
Picked up just his second ever MLS goal this season, Nuhu, in over 200 appearances. They like to celebrate those in Seattle. Show dropping in between the center backs here, all the way back to Martin Paz, who will lift it long, diagonal out to Lawless Abubakar. Wins the header. I can't find a teammate in red and blue. It's turned over to Kihi. Bubakar biting at the heels of Ryan Kent, or Rusnak, sorry, and coming away with the ball and winning a foul as well. And some words for Albert Rusnak there from Lawless.
Yeah, I think he got a little scrape across the back of the calf or the heel, and that never feels very good.
I'll tell you what, there's not a nicer guy in the entire league than Lawless Bubakar off the field, but you don't mind seeing a bit of that fight in the 90 minutes. Ebiaga looking for options, doesn't see anything on really with this short free kick. Eventually plays it through the lines to Farrington, who's checked in short. Does well to hold off the defender. Arguide out to Marco Farfan. Farfan down the line. Julio trying to hold off his defender. Sets back Marco now on a dribble through midfield. Has it taken away. Patrickson covering on the left side. Now Uriguide holding off Jesus Ferreira. And Jesus Ferreira dumped to the turf and told to get up there by Osaze Uriguide.
Bit of a ragdoll from disrespectful ragdoll there from Uriguide. By disrespectful, I mean completely respectful.
Here's Show through the middle, finds Pedrinho in the pocket, can drive forward, puts the ball in behind for Farrington to chase. Yamar beaten to it there by Farrington inside the box. Farrington at the left side, cuts back, tries to find a teammate. Patrickson leaves it now for Show. Show from distance. And that one was pretty comfortable for Fry, although he didn't exactly catch it at the first opportunity.
And back behind the ball, somebody just went down for Seattle.
I think it's Yamar, and I won't be surprised because I thought he had position to beat
did, and then he didn't.
To the ball.
Yeah, right.
And all of a sudden he wasn't. It does look like it's Yamar who's down, and with Seattle already down a starting center back, this could be a big blow for Brian Schmetzer, especially 3 games away from the Club World Cup now.
Interesting conversation going on between Ramiro and Show. And, Ramiro, for his faults, I think with the ball, he's usually pretty sensible. So it looks like they're having a disagreement over what should happen there. And I think I would trust Ramiro.
I think Show had a really tough first 5 minutes, but he's actually found a couple of good forward passes in the subsequent 10 minutes. As we wait for treatment for Yamar, if he's able to continue, he'll have to wait off the field for 2 minutes. If not, they'll have to replace him.
He definitely, I think he felt a little hamstring there because you can see him, he's got position, he's got Farrington beat to the ball, and he just sort of stops running.
Well, they already lost Reagan to a hamstring, and he was questionable, so he's on the cusp of returning. But they were hoping to have their first choice pairing ready for these big games coming up. Atletico Madrid, PSG, Botafogo, all at Lumen Field.
Yeah, if they don't have Yamar, I think they're going to get Reagan back, but if they don't have Yamar, that's going to be tough.
Potential UEFA Champions League winning team coming to town. You need your best 11 available for sure.
And if you're Brian Schmetzer right now, you're probably thinking about that. You're probably thinking, do I take a chance here with a guy that is a best 11 center back against Dallas, and when you're controlling the game anyway?
Options on the bench really would be John Bell, 27-year-old center back who's been a depth piece for a couple different teams in Major League Soccer.
And the thing is with Seattle, between Reagan and Yamar, it's probably the best center back combo in the league. And now it looks like unless Yamar can continue here, he's got to leave the game.
And it will be John Bell in to replace him here in the 16th minute. A big blow for Seattle, not just in the context of the game, but of the season. And now an opportunity for Dallas, who are down some key players themselves with suspension and rotation, but now Seattle at both ends of the field missing some big names.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how rotated Dallas is, but look, now Seattle, between Musovski, Morris, Reagan, Yamar, that's 4 starters that they're down 3.5 maybe with Musovski.
Still a ton of quality out there, of course, and we talked about their depth in the open. But a lot of that depth is in the attacking areas. As Roldan skips past Julio, now hitting a switching ball out to Ryan Kent on the far side, who's been very involved here in these opening 20 minutes. Puts that one into midfield for Vargas. Now Roldan going to switch it again, back out to Kent, who's this time got Pedrinho to deal with, lifting the early cross in towards the back post, sliding Rusnak, can't keep it in the area. It's retrieved by De La Vega, and Uriguide gets his body in the way, but then just put a two-handed shove in the chest of De La Vega, and that's always going to be called, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird moment there from Urguide because he actually was about to get the ball. I think he had position. All he had to do was turn around, but he just got into a little pushing match, and I think he's just a little bigger and stronger. And when he pushed, De La Vega went down
You're saying
hard.
there wasn't much embellishment in that one. Maybe
No,
just a strong shot.
I'm not really saying that. I'm just saying that when De La Vega tried to push Urguide,
he didn't move.
He didn't go anywhere. And then when Urguide pushed back, De La Vega went down hard.
It's going to be Rusnak. This will be set up similar to a corner, but Dallas put their line on the edge of the 6-yard box. Rusnak 2 arms raised from the near side. Patrickson the one-man wall, guarding any shot towards the near post. Rusnak puts a man underneath. This one flicked on by Ferreira. And it's out the other end, retrieved by John Bell. Ryan Kent set back for John Bell, the recent substitute, finds De La Vega. Vargas down the line again for John Bell, going to send in a left-footed cross, and that one's comfortable for Martin Paz to claim. Jesus Ferreira, you can't really complain about the chances he's gotten here in the opening 20 minutes. Still held scoreless.
Well, I can complain that he's getting those chances, though. They're really eating up that left wing over there. They're Dallas's right defensive side right now.
Direct ball into Logan Farrington, matched up against John Bell. Does well to bring it down. Now finds Pedrinho. Here goes Farrington on the overlap. Pedrinho makes a run through the middle. Farrington looking for options. Poked back for Show. Switching ball out to the near side for Anderson Julio. Farfan goes beyond him. Julio lines up the shot from distance, so he didn't get that one right. And it's over the bar. Decent build, though. Farrington's having some joy here against a now depleted Sounders back line.
Yeah, and I don't mind. I have enjoyed the moment so far when Dallas gets very aggressive and goes forward quickly and then stays aggressive once they get in the final third, which they did there. It's again, Julio did not hit a good shot, but I do appreciate the aggressiveness instead of just circulating the ball and waiting and hoping something happens.
This time is Ferreira dropping into the middle to receive it, and now help Seattle get out the other way. Ball in behind looking for Jesus Ferreira. Ibeaga on the retreat. Ferreira goes for the back heel, and his good friend Marco Farfan's the one who comes away with the ball.
Good job by Ibeaga reading the moment and making sure he was running with Ferreira as Ferreira launched that run, because Jesus definitely faster.
Show on it in midfield, finds Pedrinho in the center circle. Pedrinho just has his pocket picked there by Christian Roldan.
And then turns around and gives a shrug as if to say, why didn't somebody tell me? But man, you got to check your shoulder.
Here's a ball ahead from Ferreira. Abubakar shielding off Rusnak and helping it all the way back to Martin Paz. And Jesus Ferreira spent the first 20 minutes holding the line as the number 9, and now we see him start to drop in. He's got a good running mate in Rusnak who can read those situations.
Yeah, Rusnak's movement off the ball is one of the things that makes him really special.
Big part of the reason that Jesus has 7 assists on the year.
I'll tell you what, in a game like this, look, they've gotten past the 20th minute. They're in it. They've had a couple of chances. They've actually had 3 shots, 1 on target. I think it's the kind of game, Ryan, where you just say, get to the next 10 minutes. Get to the next 10 minutes. And then, and then starting to adjust from there.
And, of course, you've got some good options on the bench if you can get to a point in the second half where Eric Kuhl will feel comfortable using them, the likes of Petter Musa. There's a ball in behind looking for Kent. Abubakar loses his footing, but fortunately there's enough weight on the pass to take it all the way through behind for a goal kick.
And I like the sound of Petter Musa coming in for 30 minutes against 2 center backs that are third choice and fourth choice.
I'll tell you what, we were just looking at a replay of that double chance a moment ago. How he hasn't scored. With Martin Paz on the ground, 2 chances at it. I mean, that's just the snake-bitten nature of his season so far in front of goal.
I bet he's asking the same thing.
Dallas trying to build here from the goal kick. Find Patrickson, laid back to Farfan, lifted into the middle, looking for Pedrinho, but off the mark. And now here's Obed Vargas getting turned. Vargas finds De La Vega with space on the near side. De La Vega cut back cross all the way through, deflected on the way, and behind for a corner kick. Rusnak, a big opportunity there from the edge of the box.
It's Dallas giving the ball away against that counter press, and it's a really good turn in the midfield from Obed Vargas, who's just become a Mexican international. And once again, it's Ramiro sort of back behind the play when he needs to be out in front of it.
Another corner kick coming for Dallas to defend. I know it'll be a goal kick, actually. I thought it was deflected, but it's gone down as just a miss from Rusnak.
I think it did. It must have deflected off one of the Seattle players, because I swear it hit somebody in there, I thought.
Dallas, either way, can't keep possession from the goal kick. They went long that time. And it's Ryan Kent running at Abubakar, the story of these opening 22 minutes. But Abubakar, after some difficulties early on, has stood up to the task here in the last 10 minutes or so. He's won it back there with a sliding tackle. Nice switching ball finds Julio. He can't beat the first man. Breaks kindly for Marco Farfan into the middle for Ramiro. Urquide exchanges passes with Show. And eventually Show lifts it down the line. Pedrinho, nice flick, finds Ramiro with space. Ramiro, though, just has to be aware. He's got Roldan on his back, not just him, but Pedrinho moments ago had his pocket picked easily in midfield. I think it's safe to say a mixed bag from all the midfield options for Dallas today. Some good moments and some really frustrating ones. So we've played 23 minutes. If you're just joining us, Paxton Pomacall not involved today. That's a planned rest after going 60 minutes on Wednesday and still in his return from injury. There's a ball down the line. De La Vega gets there first, but Marco Farfan gets his body in the way. Eventually, it gets back through to Martin Paz as De La Vega went through Marco Farfan to get a toe on the ball.
24 minutes. Martin Paz has been busy. He's been good. That's a positive sign for FC Dallas.
When you go to a Seattle, you go to a Cincinnati coming up on Wednesday, you need your goalkeeper in good form. Martin Paz going long there. Header one in midfield by Show. Challenging for the second ball. It's Nuhu who comes away with it. Now Nuhu looking for options. Dallas standing firm here in their own half in the mid block as it's lifted out to the near side for De La Vega. Dropped off to Kihi, who switched over to playing the right side of the center back pairing as Yamar went off early, injured. Ramiro intercepting a pass, but can't find a teammate, just poking it away. Alex rolled on with some space to hit a diagonal ball, looking for Kent at the back post. Kent gets a foot to it and just about unable to keep it in play, and the offside flag went up anyway.
I don't know if Dallas, if they've made a change or if it's the game plan today is for it to be very fluid, but right now it's Delgado out as a right midfielder and Pedrinho playing underneath Logan Farrington.
I think I would point more towards it being fluid. Either one of them
I think so.
Play either role. As long as one of them is switched on in that moment when it's required, because a lot of the play has been going out to that far side. Ryan Kent seeing a ton of the ball. Here's John Bell lifting one in behind. Ferreira will give chase. Ibiaga's going to have to deal with it, and there's some turf funny business at play there with the spin and the bounce of that ball. He still gets it back to Martin Paz, who lifts it down the field. Dallas player can't get ahead to it. It's turned over. And now Nuhu drives forward into the attacking third. Ball in behind for Ryan Kent. Appeals for an offside flag. Flag stays down as he finds Vargas inside the 18. Dropped off for Nuhu. Wide again for Kent. Kent trying to put it in behind. Vargas not on the same page. Martin Paz comes out off his line to claim.
Yeah, they're really picking on that Dallas's defensive right side. Nuhu joining Ryan Kent in the attack up that side. Not doing much on De La Vega's side. That's against Marco Farfan over there.
Dallas in possession, moving it across the back line here. Urquide now under pressure from Ferreira. Rolled it forward to Pedrinho, man on his back. A couple of step overs trying to free himself up to find a pass. And he thought it would have been his throw and allowed it to run out over the line. And the officials point the other way for a Seattle throw.
Pedrinho needs to take some lessons from Marco Farfan and just go down there, because he had enough defender on his back that he could have gone down.
Here's a ball through the lines. Vargas gets turned, finds Kent on the far side. Abubakar out to defend. Ryan Kent cuts back onto his right foot, bending the ball in towards the back post. Farfan chests it down and sends it away off the right foot. And a loose touch there from John Bell. Patrickson got a foot to it and now brings Julio into the attack. Julio with just Logan Farrington for company. On the far side, Julio cuts onto his right foot, goes down. And an unfortunate collision in the aftermath between he and I believe John Bell. as Julio sort of lost his footing and Bell came flying across. I think a foul was called against Julio.
It was. Dallas players making the appeal that maybe the foul should have gone against Bell.
Seattle already had to make a change, bringing Bell on for the injured Yamar. And there's no way that can be a foul against Anderson Julio.
Well, he got a little bit of a push in the back. I think he just sort of lost his balance, and then he does fall into Bell, and actually he gets kicked in the head or the shoulder. And then Bell's, I don't know how hard Anderson Julio's head is, but maybe it was the shoulder, but Bell ended up staying down longer than Julio did.
Both players look like they're good to continue here in the 28th minute. Scoreless at Lumen Field between Dallas and Seattle. Dallas 3 wins, 3 draws, and 1 loss away from home in Major League Soccer this year.
As I watched another replay there, Julio did get clipped on his heel as he got into the penalty area, but I think he was already, I think Alan Chapman was right to judge that he was going to lose the ball anyway there.
Yeah, I think people sometimes underrate, if you're at full speed, how a small touch can absolutely take you off your balance.
I agree, yeah.
And that was one of the rare opportunities for Julio to get to full speed here in the opening half hour. Possession with Seattle, moving it across the back line. John Bell over to Keehee. Rolls it down the line. De La Vega, drop of the shoulder, gets past Julio, who tugged his jersey. And will play on here. Advantage from Alan Chapman. John Bell switching ball out to Ryan Kent. Underhit it, but got away with it. Ryan Kent now running at Abubakar, corner to the 18. Drop of the shoulder. Abubakar blocks the first cross. Second cross headed away by Ibiaga. And now Pedrinho drops it off to Abubakar. Out to Pedrinho. Show inside the 18. Lifts it ahead of Pedrinho. Everything came off well there, and Dallas working up the right side now. Farrington trying to keep it in play, but, well, unlike the others involved in that build-up, he doesn't have a Brazilian passport, and the back heel didn't come off for him.
Yeah, Pedrinho doing a lot of work to move that ball up the right side, and in the end, that Logan Farrington knew what he was doing and just was trying to rescue that ball from going out of bounds, but couldn't quite pull it off.
De La Vega on the ball, defended by Julio. Now rolled on. Another switching ball out to the far side for Nuhu. Nuhu with some space this time. Going to send the cross in. Headed at the near post by Abubakar. Helped away by Ramiro. Bell gets a touch to it ahead of Farrington. And breaks for Ryan Kent. Now poked wide again for Nuhu. A lot of crosses in this opening half hour for Seattle. Nuhu tries to go through the legs of Pedrinho. Is alert to that kind of move. And now sends it clear. Switching ball, looking for Julio, but it puts him back towards his own goal. And 2 Dallas players fighting for the same ball there. Breaks for De La Vega. De La Vega swings the cross in. Abubakar gets a foot to it. Again, back towards the Dallas goal. Farfan helps it further along. Julio battling with De La Vega for the loose bouncing ball. Now Julio chased towards his own corner flag. Sets it back for Uriguide. Dallas struggling here without a left-footed player to just hit a clearance. And now Julio can't win it back. Rolled on, rolls it across the 18-yard box, retrieved by Rusnak out to Ryan Kent on the far side. Matched up with Abubakar. Rusnak goes on the overlap. Cutback ball blocked by Abubakar. Retrieved by the Slovakian international. Set back for Ryan Kent. Vargas can't control that at the edge of the box, and it's turned over to Ramiro. Patrickson can't hold on to it there as the outlet, and it's back with Seattle. Dallas doing a lot of defending.
That's Seattle's counter press at work again.
Now Rusnak into the 18, sets it back for Kent. Kent on the turn, looking to get to his left foot. Finds De La Vega inside the D. Julio defending. Shot blocked there by Uriguide, and out for a Seattle throw.
Dallas defensive shape not really working great today, but their emergency defending working pretty well.
It was like one of those moments where if you had a timeout, you'd probably call it if you're Eric Quill. As the ball's in behind for De La Vega, just overhit there by Vargas.
Well, they've reached the 32nd minute, still scoreless, so that's good. Again, though, Ryan, I mean, Pedrinho, we talked about how he's pretty effective in his minutes, but he's got to understand where he is. All of that started when he tried to hit a switching ball across his own penalty area. It's just not the place for it. Kick it in the stands, kick it up to Dallas, wherever, just not there.
getting a look at XG numbers from this game. Jesus Ferreira with those 2 point-blank chances at 1.63 XG in the opening 30 minutes. A couple of headed opportunities as well. Ball just out of the reach of Show in midfield, and now Seattle on it with Rusnak. De La Vega lifts it out to the far side. It's Obed Vargas bringing it forward now. Beats Abubakar to the ball. Abubakar on his back, has to be careful. And Abubakar, not guilty of a foul, according to Alan Chapman, has some words for Vargas as it's behind for a goal kick.
Vargas tried to do his best Nico Ladero, which is position your body, stick your butt out, take a little contact and fall down. Lawless did have a lot of body on him, but I think Vargas understood he was heading towards the corner flag, wasn't going to be able to do anything with the ball, and just tried to buy the foul, sell the foul.
Alan Chapman not buying on that occasion, as Martin Poss looking for Farrington on the halfway line.
Thank you for working out my buys and sells. I appreciate that.
Sounds like a talking point for the agenda this week. Maybe we can talk about what we're buying and selling. And then this stretch of games, we have the FC Dallas Agenda podcast for you, usually on Wednesdays, but with Dallas playing on Wednesdays, moving to Fridays. You'll want to tune in this week. We're going to have a special guest for you on the FC Dallas Radio Network podcast feed.
What do you think Brian Schmetzer's so upset about there?
Honestly, not sure, but he's still in conversation with the fourth official.
And he's having to pull Preki back, assistant coach. The whole bench upset about something, but I can't really figure it out.
Throw in from Alex Roldan into Vargas in the middle. Headed back to Bell. Nuhu down the line on the far side. Ryan Kent. He's looked busy, but yet to be incisive or effective in the final third for Seattle. A couple of assists, looking for his first goal since joining the Rave Green. Nuhu into midfield. Christian Roldan poked back across. John Bell sets up Keehee, who's bringing it forward up the near side. Keehee, ball forward, blocked up in the air by Marco Farfan. Header from Julio, unable to keep it in play.
Right now, Schmetzer's upset at his own team. I can hear him yelling, keep the ball moving. Wants a little bit quicker and sharper on his team's passing.
Ferreira receives it from the throw, dropped off for Christian Roldan. Awkward one for John Bell to deal with, and just unlucky for Logan Farrington. He didn't come away with the ball all on his own in the attacking half there, but now it's Ferreira, poked wide right for Alex Roldan. Chops back, finds Christian Roldan. Rusnak, edge of the box, wide again with Alex Roldan, down the line, Christian Roldan, cut back cross, defended by Ibiaga, and cleared away. And it's a good pass actually for Logan Farrington, who springs at Anderson Julio here. A lot of space for Anderson Julio to run into. The Seattle back line in full retreat, and they get back well. Julio cuts back, finds Pedrinho in the middle. Pedrinho, 3 defenders around him, keeps hold of the ball, and finds Farrington on the near side. Farrington going to size up the defender here, goes down, and he's won a free kick. And in a very promising position.
And we know Pedrinho can hit a good free kick.
36th minute. Dallas spending a lot of this game defending in their own box.
Yeah, but this is how you do this on the road when you're a couple of men down. Definitely Alex Roldan with a foul. No question about it. This is how you do it. You know, get a set-piece goal, and Dallas hasn't had a bunch of these this year.
Well, Seattle's conceded a bunch. 7 goals conceded from set pieces out of just 20 in total. One of the best defensive teams in the league, has been very vulnerable from these opportunities.
Such a good place for that right footer to right at the corner of the left side of the penalty area, swing that ball into toward the back post.
Dallas with 3 natural center backs in the 11. A lot of targets to aim at here for Pedrinho. The Brazilian on the approach, bends it all the way through and just needed a touch on its way. It was in the end comfortable for Stefan Frei. So it had the right shape, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, Ryan. It had the right shape, but that's when you have to actually, you can't whiz in there. You actually have to put a little bit of loft on it.
Here's Patrickson winning it high up the field and keeping it in play.
Yeah, you have to put just a little bit of loft on it to give your players a chance to get in there and get that ball.
Show nearly dispossessed by Ryan Kent, but the English winger called for a handball.
All right, I mentioned get to the 30th minute. Figure that out. Figure out how to get to the 40th minute. They're almost there now. From there, you got to figure out how to get to halftime.
Well, they're going to line up this set piece. Another chance for Pedrinho, who's come across. This one from much further away, but still the targets to aim at will make their way forward.
And that's the thing when you play a Boubacar at right back. You've got effectively another center back to send forward.
5 Dallas players spread out across the edge of the 18. Pedrinho puts some air underneath this one, but too much air. It's comfortable for Stefan Frei, who catches it just wide of the goal to his right. Well, the best way to experience FC Dallas soccer is with a season ticket membership, which has a host of benefits that make it the best option in sports, including a complimentary MLS Season Pass subscription, discounts on concessions at Toyota Stadium, and much more. You can find the membership that's perfect for you at fcdallas.com/memberships. Switching ball out to the far side, but the flag is up there against Ryan Kent.
And back behind the play, Ibiaga, knowing the flag was up, still puts the ball at that must have gone 50, 60 rows up into the Lumen Field stands.
He's just trying to give a fan a nice moment, take a selfie with the ball before you send it back in.
Shots right now 8-3 in favor of the home team. 3 of those on target for Seattle, 1 for Dallas.
Martin Paz sends the troops up the field. Everybody now into the Seattle half as he launches this one out towards Farrington. Farrington banging bodies there with Nuhu. Boubacar gets a header again into the feet of Farrington. Pedrinho trying to lift it back towards Farrington. It breaks kindly for Patrickson. Tries to lift it over the top for Farrington again. Here's Patrickson now centrally off the outside of his right foot to his fellow Ecuadorian Julio, who tries to replicate it with the outside of the right-footed cross. Awkward for Kihi to deal with, but he does enough. And now De La Vega under pressure from 3 Dallas players. Farfan got his body in the way and then took some contact up to the face. I don't think De La Vega knew much about it, but be surprised if he comes away without a card here.
I mean, it's a clothesline. It's more neck than face, if you ask me. But geez, if a bump in the back, which I also understood was sort of delay, if that's a yellow card for Ramiro, okay, fair enough. But De La Vega with the clothesline there and Marco Farfan, that looks like a yellow card to me.
Don't believe anything was given here in the 40th minute, but it's a 3rd straight set-piece opportunity for Dallas. This one again from the near side. Again, Pedrinho, much wider this time. Whips his right foot through it towards the back post. Frei got a touch, and it's behind for a corner. That one a little more dangerous, aiming for Urquide and Boubacar.
Yeah, for sure. Of the 3 recent dead balls that Pedrinho has hit, I'd say that's easily the best one. Good chance with a couple of runners at the back post and really giving Frei something to have to deal with over there.
He's going to make his way across to take the corner, this time from the far side.
Tell you what, Ryan, I think Logan Farrington tonight, after those first 2 balls they try to put through to him, I think he's done a great job of getting his team into the offense, working as that reference point, and he's certainly won more of those battles than he's lost.
First corner of the afternoon. Pedrinho sends it in. Referee is going to allow a retake here. He wanted the conversation as Urquide hit the deck.
That's Nuhu that he's the other end of that deck hitting, talking to, and that's
no
close
surprise.
because if that happens after the ball is played, then that's a penalty kick.
There'll be another chance for Pedrinho. This time 2 arms raised. Keane something potentially short, but now he's going to wave it off. Julio had checked to the ball. Now Pedrinho puts his foot through it into the middle. Lalas Boubacar wins the first header, and it was just bouncing through the 18. Just needed someone to react and get a touch, but it bounced through to Stefan Frei instead. And Frei, I think, feigning that he wanted to go quickly, trying to win a foul.
No, there's a little contact from behind from Urquide.
Well, nothing given.
I think Urquide got a yellow card for that earlier this year in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken.
Seattle building through midfield, now out wide left with Ryan Kent. Dallas in retreat defensively. Kent fakes the cut back to the right foot, now back to the left, back to the right, into the danger area. Marco Farfan hooks it clear. Delgado, man on his back, and he loses out there to Christian Roldan. Alex Roldan brings it up the near side with Julio defending. Vargas, time on the ball, lifts it out to Kent on the far side. Nuhu goes on the overlap. Kent finds Nuhu. Nuhu low cross, easily dealt with there by Boubacar. And Nuhu trying that same move, diving, looking for a free kick. And now it's a fight for the ball akin to a hockey battle against the boards, stuck between the two players' feet. Now Nuhu eventually comes away with it and sends a cross in, easy for Ramiro to clear away. And Pedrinho goes down hard there. It's going to be a Seattle throw once he's able to pick himself back up. I know, you know, it's the sort of the first level not to give the foul against Nuhu, but then when he stays down and he's playing the ball, it should probably go the other way for a Dallas free kick, as we didn't see what happened, but I think a cross swung in was claimed by Martin Pass.
Nah, but at least we got a good look at the bench while the ball was moving.
And now we look at the Dallas bench, which today includes Petar Musa, Bernard Kamungo, Shaq Moore, Kaike. Some genuine options in the second half.
Logan Farrington again, doing great target work there.
Great hold-up play. That allows Patrickson to spring Julio here on the near side. Julio onto his right foot on the dribble from left to right. Now finds Pedrinho inside the 18. Pedrinho back to Julio inside the 18. Cuts back looking for space. Finds Pedrinho inside the box. Poked ahead towards Delgado. Just not on the same page that time, as Dallas had 5 inside the Seattle penalty area. Couldn't come away with a shot on target that time. And then Abubakar is going to pick up an easy yellow card here, as he had stopped the runner for the 1-2.
Delgado's making an argument, but it's pretty clear that's a tactical foul from Abubakar.
And now that's a real concern with how much they've been able to find Kent in the opening half here. Can't really have another moment like that.
Yeah, Dallas has to make a couple of defensive adjustments, by the way, 44th minute, so just about at halftime, but they've got to find ways to sort of put more people in the cover shadow over there on that defensive right side and keep Kent from getting the ball quite as easily.
Vargas finds Christian Roldan, 44th minute, scoreless at Lumen Field, lifts it out to Alex Roldan, set back for Vargas centrally here. Chipped into the box for the run of Jesus Ferreira, brings it down, and the ball across was blocked by Ibiaga, but the flag is up against Jesus Ferreira in any case, who after a very involved opening 15 minutes has gone silent.
Yeah, Jesus Ferreira offside by a good full step there.
Well, Dallas is back home on Saturday, May 31st to host the Philadelphia Union. For tickets and more information, please visit fcdallastickets.com. Pass goes long from the goal kick. Farrington, nice header, finds Show, but he brings it down with the help of his right arm, and the handball whistled against the Angolan.
When they go long at the goal kicks, it's always out to the left side for Farrington, and he's winning those as well.
I think the best half he's played of the season for sure, even without a goal or an assist to his name. Here's Dallas defending in the 45th minute with numbers in the attack for Seattle. Rusnak out wide left for Ryan Kent onto his right foot, swings the right foot through it, blocked by Ramiro. Back to Nuhu. Nuhu, couple of step overs inside the box, set back for Ryan Kent. Wide with Albert Rusnak. Rusnak lifts the ball in, awkwardly under hit there, and Ibiaga got there. Ramiro helps it further clear as we're into 2 minutes of first half stoppage time. Farfan out to defend Alex Roldan. Does well to prevent a cross. Now into De La Vega. And De La Vega fouled by Show here in a dangerous position, 20 yards from goal. Some candidates to line up and take this from the Seattle side.
Show had De La Vega going out to the sideline. Didn't need to put a body into him.
This will most likely be the final action of the first half, as we played one of the 2 minutes added on. Rusnak standing over it, sort of shaping more towards a cross, though that can always be something to try and fake out Martin Pass. 3 men in the wall. Vargas waits in a lot of space on the top of the box to the left of Rusnak as well. It's Rusnak on the approach. It is lifted towards the back post. Header from De La Vega is over the bar. With how low that ball got, it really shouldn't have been allowed to from a Dallas perspective.
Yeah, I think it's Show on the defending Urguide in the area too, and yeah, De La Vega, I'm not quite sure how he got to that one.
Now Martin Pass going to take some time, take the air out of the ball here as the final seconds of first half stoppage time tick down. Launches it long, one more for Farrington to contest with, and he brings it down well off the right thigh. Can't find a teammate. Pedrinho putting pressure on John Bell, who sends it down the field. Here's De La Vega in behind. Martin Paus out off his line, and the offside flag goes up against the Seattle number 10. And that will do it for us in the first half. Dallas putting up a good fight in Seattle at Lumen Field, and this one's still all to play for in the second 45. We'll have halftime coverage for you here on the radio network as it's FC Dallas 0 and the Seattle Sounders 0 from Lumen Field.
So, what'd you do this weekend?
Well, just took the Tacoma off-road, deep into the woods, got to this hidden campsite only it could reach.
Nice. I hooked up the boat to the Tundra and hit up the lake. Towed it like a pro. Had the whole lake to ourselves.
Hey, wait, did I mention I went rock climbing too? Uh-huh, yeah, thanks to the Tacoma's crawl control.
Well, sounds like we both had fun weekends.
Mine was better.
The Toyota Tundra and Tacoma are built for all the fun. Test drive at your local Toyota dealer or visit Toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. Feature availability differs based on trim. See Toyota.com for details.
UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, Texas, where discoveries change lives. The spark of collaboration that fuels bold thinking in our labs. The spark of inspiration that motivates greatness in the next generation. And the spark of innovation that pushes the boundaries of today's care. At UT Southwestern, teamwork and talent combine to fuel discovery, education, and healing. UT Southwestern. The future of medicine sparks here.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hi everyone, it's Marco Farfan, and you're listening to FC Dallas Soccer on the FC Dallas app.
After 45 and 2 minutes at Lumen Field, it's FC Dallas 0 and the Seattle Sounders 0 as FC Dallas looks to get through another match at Seattle, hopefully with a point, but maybe with 3, we'll see. It's been a rough going after 45 plus. Hello everybody, it's the halftime show brought to you today by your local Toyota dealer, Toyota. Let's go places. Also brought to you by Advocare, building champions together. I'm your host, Sam Hale. I'll be joined in just a moment by the voices of today's contest, Ryan Figert and Steve Davis. But first, let's bring you your halftime stats, which today are brought to you by UMB Bank. Possession goes the way of the Sounders, 64-36. 11 shots for the Sounders, 4 of those on target. 4 total shots for Dallas, just 2 of those on target. 9 crosses to 1 for the Seattle Sounders. You've had 4 saves for Martin Paus, 2 saves for Stephen Fry. 6 fouls for Dallas, 5 for the Sounders, and 2 yellow cards for FCD to none for the home side. Those went to Lawless Abubakar and Ramiro Manetti. As we bring in the commentary team for today, Ryan Figert and Steve Davis. And Ryan, I think Steve said something very prophetic earlier. I want to get your take on. It's all about just getting through those 10 minutes. Hey, you get through 10, you get through 20. Dallas has made it through 45 and a little bit extra. Still 0-0. The offense doesn't look great, but you're still in it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think the run of play, the sort of the field tilt, the build up, the patterns, that's all been, more prevalent towards Seattle's side without a doubt. They're hitting a switching ball really well to spring Ryan Kent, who's a very good 1v1 winger. To his credit, Lawless Abubakar has really stood up in that matchup so far, though now he has to deal with a yellow card in the second half. I think, the field is definitely tilting towards Martin Paus's goal, but that's how these road games sometimes go. So far, they've had the answers in terms of emergency defending. They've stayed switched on. Seattle likes to get to the end line and cut back crosses, and so far, whether it's Abubakar coming across on the other side, Ramiro defending, or any of the midfielders, they've been able to stop that cutback cross. And somehow Jesus Ferreira didn't open the scoring. That was the biggest chance for Seattle. He had 2 from inside the 6-yard box denied by Martin Paus. If that goes in, it's a different story. But as it stands right now, Dallas right in this game.
Yeah, Jesus Ferreira, if it wasn't for bad luck, he'd have done it all in this game. Specifically, he's had 3 chances to really make an impact. But, Steve, we mentioned crossing in specific, but passing in general has been a struggle specifically for Dallas. They haven't really had a lot of success moving up the field, while on the other end, it seems like every time Seattle moves towards Dallas's net, it's a couple passes, they've got it to Ryan Kent or De La Vega, and they are off. It's been a real easy on one end and difficult on the other.
Yeah, some of that, though, was to be anticipated, wasn't it? I sort of gave you on my very quick scouting report there the fact that Seattle, when I watched them this year, they're good about getting the ball efficiently, effectively, and pretty quickly into the final third. From there, it's a mixed bag, and that's exactly what we're seeing today. They're finding not just the switching ball out to Ryan Kent that Ryan mentioned, but also as they bring the ball up the left side. Pedrinho in his defensive angles, he's not the best at he's an attacking player, so he's stuck out there on the right side as the sort of right side of midfielder when they defend, and he's not the best at reading those angles and keeping the ball from progressing up to Kent, and then that creates that one-on-one over there that sometimes Kent's okay at and sometimes he's not. So they're getting the ball into the final third, but again, from there, they're not really that effective this year. On the other side, one of the things that I'm seeing is when they can use Logan Farrington as a hold-up man, it's very good today. That's about what Dallas has, and we've seen Anderson Julio, we've seen Pedrinho, both of them sort of dribble into trouble sometimes. When they find his feet or his chest, or even on a couple of headers, Logan's doing really well. He's at 12 of 16 on his passes, considering that he's a bit isolated up there. That's really good. 20 touches, he's only been dispossessed once. He's created 2 chances. So I think Logan Farrington's doing outstanding, especially considering Ryan, they're down a center back. Now they're down 2 center backs.
Yeah, and that's one to look out for. Yamar had to come out after 15 minutes with what looked like sort of a hamstring injury, and they're already down Jackson Reagan. So sort of their 3rd and 4th choice center backs are in there right now with Keehee and John Bell. And as good as Logan Farrington is doing, and maybe you keep him in there as long as he can go, Petter Musa waiting on the bench as well to potentially feast in that matchup.
You led me to an interesting place we'll get to when we talk about second half adjustments. Let's talk specifically about the back 5 here, and let's talk about Martin Paz. Paz has had a little bit of an inconsistent season so far. We're looking for him to regain that all-star form. But today, he hasn't been challenged specifically over 45. But, man, when he came up big,
I don't know. I think he was challenged specifically over big time. He kept out, 1.6 XG, if you believe the stats.
Yeah, those
that were
2
shown
shots
on
are
our
what I
screen.
mean. He came up big on those.
He came up huge on those. I mean, it was I think, equally poor finishing from Jesus Ferreira as it was, the first one, great reaction save, and then his arm is still up from the first save, and Jesus just sort of puts it right into the outstretched left arm of Martin Paz. But still, I think those are the most important saves that he's made this season, and that back-to-back save kept Dallas in it. Like I said, if that goes in, we're having a totally different conversation here. So when you go on the road, when you go into these tough venues, you need your goalkeeper at the top of his game, and that was one of his best halves of the season so far.
Yeah, as they say, 1 or 2 moments make a superhero. Well, that moment right there made Martin Paz a superhero right there. Steve, let's talk about the back line in general that's in front of him. Obviously, 3 center backs plus Marco Farfan. I think Farfan's looked pretty good in his return to starting, but the big question was how would Lawless Abubakar do in his second start at right back? And, it's nothing to write home about, but I think he's at least making it a serviceable outing once again.
Well, he's in a tough spot over there because he's a center back who's being asked to play. You don't, as a center back, you're never comfortable usually, unless you're Saze or Gide, you're not comfortable defending out in space. He's being asked to do that a lot against Ryan Kent over there. Again, it's Pedrinho, who's an attacking player. Look, again, I'm not trying to pick on Pedrinho. This is sort of a makeshift lineup, but he's got to get back in there and help a little bit more. Make it predictable. If he can slide in at the right angle once Kent gets the ball, Abubakar reads that and says, okay, he's not going this way. Now I know he's got to go this way because if he goes that way, he's going to go right into Pedrinho. So if Pedrinho can make it more predictable for Abubakar, he's going to help him a lot. So it's tough over there. He's won some battles. He's lost some. Ryan Kent's getting some crosses in, so they just need to sort of adjust that over there, Dallas does.
Yeah, Ryan Kent's still getting used to life with Seattle and Major League Soccer. I think he's going to be a real problem when he's fully up to speed, and you can see just his quickness. He's got, a top line speed that very few players have in this league, and so far I think I would give a lot of credit to Abubakar in that battle.
Yeah. And Brian Schmetzer has also been adamant coming into this matchup. He wants Kent using that speed and craftiness more than just trying to out-dribble guys, and we're seeing it work out today. Let's talk second half adjustments, and Ryan, I want to go back to something you brought up earlier. The idea that Logan Farrington has been a very good hold-up player today for Dallas. Or you can argue he's been their best player maybe outside of Martin Paz. I'm curious, we'll start here with you, about the idea of playing him and Musa together and the idea of taking off Julio and then maybe turning Farrington into that sort of secondary striker where he has the hold-up play and he's trying to feed Musa. That sounds good in theory, but I'm curious how it might actually look.
I don't hate it. I think you also have Bernard Kamungo, who just sort of played himself back into form on Wednesday as an option if you want to keep a sort of vertical, pacey player out there. I think there's a lot of options on the bench. I think Kayike can come in and help you cover ground. I think Pedrinho, you sort of need a creative player in there. If it's Siki who comes in, he could sort of fill that role. So I think you have a lot of options. I wouldn't want to take out, I think you need to have creativity and you need to have pace. I wouldn't want to take both of those off the field. Farrington and Musa has a good amount of creativity for sure, and maybe he could fill that role if he was the one sort of dropping in a little bit deeper. I think there's a lot of options, a lot of ways to go, but first and foremost, it's built on a solid defensive foundation, and if they can keep that, they'll keep themselves in this game.
I tell you one thing I'm looking at is that usually when you go up to Seattle, even if you're holding them down a little bit on the attack, you're always thinking, oh man, but they got Nico Ladero to bring off the bench. Or last year they had Raul Ruiz Diaz and different players. Maybe they had Leo Chu to bring off the bench because they've always done such a good job of building depth up there. Sometimes it was Jordan Morris that was coming off the bench. Well, today it's Dallas, because they do have Bernie Kamungo in pretty good form after the other day coming off the bench. Pedro Musa to bring off the bench. Siki to bring off the bench. Dallas actually has the better options to bring off the bench. But again, it's about, can you get to the 60th minute? Then maybe can you get to the 70th minute? And then if you can, you sort of like Dallas' chances.
Yeah, I think especially when you potentially bring Shaq Moore into this game, that might really sort of flip the way that the team can play, because there was one moment, and there was a few moments in these sort of kind of half-chance moments and when the ball turns over in the middle where Boubacar got the furthest forward that he got really all afternoon so far, and he just missed a pass into Patrickson, who could have received it, turned, and got the team going towards goal. And I think if you have a more comfortable right back there, Shaq Moore, he probably finds him or finds another way to get the team up the field. So I think as long as you can stay solid defensively with Lawless there, as soon as you bring in Shaq Moore, that might give you more verticality up the right side.
And that leads me to my last point, Steve. We've seen Eric Quill do really well in second half adjustments, be it tactically and personnel-wise. With the game where it is right now and the bench options he has available, this feels like kind of a big moment for him because if he can get it right, they might be able to at least get a point, if not steal all three.
Yeah, you know what? You're not incorrect there, Sam, but I'm going to give you the other side of that coin. Brian Schmetzer has long been the master of the halftime adjustment in Major League Soccer. So don't think that Seattle is going to do the exact same thing in the second half either. He's going to make some tweak, and then he's also going to have a plan B on his tweak. So it's definitely three-dimensional chess with those that Eric Will is dealing with here.
Well, it's going to be interesting regardless whether it'll be excitement or heartbreak. Seattle and FC Dallas always give you something.
We can't take any more of the heartbreak.
Well, you might have to, unfortunately. We will see. There's 45 minutes left at Lumen Field. We will see what happens. It's FC Dallas 0, it's Seattle Sounders 0 here on some matinee soccer on an afternoon. That's going to do it for the halftime show. When we return, Ryan and Steve will get you ready for the second half of action from the Emerald City. This is FC Dallas Soccer presented by Toyota on the FC Dallas Radio Network.
UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, Texas, where discoveries change lives. The spark of collaboration that fuels bold thinking in our labs. The spark of inspiration that motivates greatness in the next generation. And the spark of innovation that pushes the boundaries of today's care. At UT Southwestern, teamwork and talent combine to fuel discovery, education, and healing. UT Southwestern, the future of medicine sparks here.
Welcome to the world of WinStar, the casino at the world of WinStar.
Want to hear something incredible? That's Eleanor. Just 10 hours after being born, Eleanor was airlifted to Children's Health and met by our expert team trained in cardiac and critical care. At 4 days old, she received a stent to help her heart pump blood to the rest of her body. And today, she's a happy, healthy 1-year-old. That's incredible. That's Children's Health. Incredible together.
So, what'd you do this weekend?
Well, just took the Tacoma off-road, deep into the woods, got to this hidden campsite only it could reach.
Nice. I hooked up the boat to the Tundra and hit up the lake. Towed it like a pro. Had the whole lake to ourselves.
Hey, wait, did I mention I went rock climbing too? Uh-huh, yeah, thanks to the Tacoma's crawl control.
Well, sounds like we both had fun weekends.
Mine was better.
The Toyota Tundra and Tacoma are built for all the fun. Test drive at your local Toyota dealer or visit Toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. Feature availability differs based on trim. See Toyota.com for details.
Hi everyone, it's Paxton Palmacall, and you're listening to FC Dallas Soccer on the FC Dallas app.
Well, both sides have retaken Lumen Field as we're just about set to get things underway in the second half of action. Dallas at Seattle today, scoreless through 45 minutes, and I saw the fourth official with the board up. Didn't quite pick out who was entering the match or for either side. We'll get that for you in just a second. Right now we're looking at the fans from around Lumen Field. Always a hearty crowd out in Seattle. Ramiro, the first player we see, he's still out there. He's one of 2 Dallas players to pick up a yellow card in the first half, he and Lalas Abubakar.
Do I see a Bernie Kamungo over there?
In this lighting with the sun baking down on Lumen Field, I'm not going to make
Anybody's hair looks like Bernie Kamungo?
He does have the blonde going. I think that might be Bernie. We'll bring that to you for sure in just a moment as it's dropped back to Martin Paz to get things back going in the second half. Paz standing tall with 3 saves in the first 45 is going to lift this one out towards Abubakar, who got a flick on it, but it's out of play for a Seattle throw.
He might have come in for Anderson Julio.
No, Julio's out there still as well. I think I could be wrong. We're seeing that it was Julio off. We can tell you that for sure Bernard Kamungo is in the game. And yeah, now I see, okay, a show who I thought was maybe the other candidate to come off. So yeah, looks like for like on the far side.
Yeah, still see Pedrinho out there, so I think that's the only change.
Kamungo, man of the match through the 90 minutes for sure on Wednesday. Goal and an assist in the Open Cup against New York. And he has a goal at Seattle a couple of years ago. Nice diving header. Here's Patrickson, ball forward. Looking for Farrington, who's a little bit on his heels there. He's going to prevent Nuhu from shielding it for a goal kick. Instead, it's a throw right near the corner flag. Nuhu into a teammate, gets it back and launches it long. To La Vega and Farfan battling for it. Set back for Kihi. Noon local time start in Seattle today, 2 o'clock Central. As MLS has done a good job, I think, this year spreading out kickoff times. There'll be some more eyes on this one from across the country. As Patrickson's whistled for a foul there, Nuhu just touched it past him.
Yeah, I think Patrickson, if he didn't get his hands up, I think he's fine there. He just turns around, shields Nuhu, but he got his hand up and made a relatively easy call for Alan Chapman.
That national audience might be disappointed not to see Lucho Acosta out there. If you're just joining us, he's suspended through yellow card accumulation today, after scoring a great goal on Wednesday in the Open Cup.
And if you also joined us late, Paxton Palmacall not involved, but nothing more than just strategic rest for the FC Dallas homegrown.
He continues to ramp up his fitness, playing an hour on Wednesday.
Yeah, artificial turf out there. I think it's a smart choice.
Here's a giveaway. Patrickson on it. Receives it there before Ryan Kent could get onto it. Now spreads it out to Bernard Kamungo. Wide left into the 18. Kamungo gets the shot on target. Lost his footing as he got the shot away. It's comfortable for Stephen Fry.
Don't mind it, though. You know, you get inside the penalty area, a little bit of a bad angle. He got it pretty good. As you said, even losing his balance a bit, but it was right at Stephen Fry.
No changes for Seattle in terms of personnel at the halftime break. Yamar had to be replaced in the first half with an injury. Christian Roldan on it in the middle. Back to John Bell, who replaced Yamar. Kihi into midfield for Vargas, who can get turned. Vargas on the halfway line, dropped off for Roldan. Ball in behind, too much on it. That one tailing all the way through to Martin Paz as it was intended for Alex Roldan. Dallas coming off of a game last year in Seattle in which they led 2-0 in the second half and 2-1 in the 87th minute. That one was scoreless at the halftime break as well before Patrickson popped up with a goal and an assist to put Dallas as close as they've come to a potential win at Lumen Field since 2011, the only time that they managed to come away with victory. Farrington appealing for a free kick, not given. It's back through to Fry.
Yeah, he and Bell were over there battling. They're both giving and getting.
Seattle spread it out to Roldan on the far side. Marco Farfan chasing him all the way back. Patrickson beaten there by Nuhu, who sends it down the line for Ryan Kent. Ebiaga coming across to try and cover the ground. Kent sends it in, and Uragide diving header to put it behind for a corner. Ferreira was waiting in the middle.
He sure was. Uragide had to get that one.
And that's the first time really that Ryan Kent has shown his full-on speed down the wing. Too much for Abubakar and Ibiaga, who aren't the quickest players, but once they get up to speed, they do have pretty solid top speed. Rusnak from the near side swings the corner in, headed up into the air by Show, and helped further away by Pedrinho. Both of these teams with just a solitary single set-piece goal on the season each. Seattle, though, have conceded 7.
Yeah, weird year for Seattle defensively because they've always been good on the attack, but recently it's been the defending that's really been their calling card. And this year just not quite as good. Jackson Reagan being out has something to do with that.
Here's Ryan Kent off the outside of the right foot, looking to put Jesus Ferreira in behind. Ibiaga there to deal with it. Bubakar down the line for Pedrinho. Pedrinho diagonal ball, foot race there for Kamungo. Kihi had the position and sends it clear where it's received by De La Vega.
I like the idea though. If Pedrinho is able to get it's a long ball that he hit, but if he can get just a little bit more, make Kihi go a little wider there, I think Kamungo can beat him to that ball.
The experienced South Korean trying to put this ball in behind for De La Vega. Too much on it. Mentioned a weird season for Seattle, but it's followed a familiar pattern. They started slow, 1 win in the first 7, and since coming to Frisco when they won 1-0, 3-2-1 in the subsequent 6-game run. Here's a nice combination through midfield. Pedrinho and Patrickson. It's the Ecuadorian on the ball, looking for options. Heavy touch, and John Bell with some good aggressive defending to dispossess Patrickson there. Now Nuhu on the dribble up the near side. Ramiro and Abubakar. Eventually Abubakar gets his body across and drops it off for Martin Paz.
I don't know what Delgado's plan was a minute ago. I mean, it was naturally give and go combination. Then he dribbled right into 3 players.
And then Martin Paz picked him out in some space in midfield, and he turned it over with a heavy first touch. Dallas back on it now after De La Vega runs out of play on the far side.
Well, I'll just keep beating on this theme. You know, they got into the 50th minute. Now find a way to get to the 60th.
Show, man on his back, dropped off wide right for Pedrinho on the halfway line, who turns and finds Abubakar.
The reason I keep saying that, by the way, guys, I think if you tell yourself we got to get a result in Seattle, it's hard, but say get a result for 10 minutes, then another 10 minutes. I think that psychologically that makes it easier.
Underhit pass from Pedrinho, turns it over. Seattle now into the attacking third, out wide left with Ryan Kent, right-footed ball. Sent in towards the back post. Alex Rodon waiting. Farfan heads it away. Rusnak tries to bring it down on the edge of the box. Patrickson sends it clear. And Kihi all the way back to Stefan Fry. Well, don't miss FC Dallas Rewind on KDFI More 27 every Tuesday night during the regular season at 7 p.m. You can catch a replay of FC Dallas' most recent MLS match for free on KDFI More 27. This free over-the-air channel is available everywhere in the DFW market. And if Dallas going to do something special here, that'll be worth a rewatch on Tuesday. Bernie Kamungo on a dribble through the middle. Just didn't really have much by way of support. Eventually turned it over.
So I don't think Seattle expected to see Bernie Kamungo come in, and he's going to keep those wide positions. And I tell you what Seattle is doing, and they've done this. They do this a lot. They release Alex Roldan up the right side quickly, making a 3-man back line, but that gives Kamungo room over there.
Here's Vargas, some space in midfield, out wide left for Kent. Abubakar out to defend. It's a one-on-one here. Kent mishits that pass, easily intercepted by Show. Dallas playing through the midfield. Pedrinho back to Show. Man on his back, has to be careful as they try and work through a tight space. Delgado puts it out in front of Farfan. Both players sliding in. And it's Marco who comes away with the ball, but referee, I think correctly, whistles for a handball as both players went sliding in, also trying to protect themselves, take evasive action, and the ball popped up on the arm of Marco. A little bit lucky he didn't get a face full of cleat.
I just thought the same thing.
54th minute, scoreless in Seattle. Far side with Alex Roldan into Rusnak in the pocket here. Dangerous position for him. Can't find an entry ball into Ferreira. And Abubakar sends it clear.
Ryan Kent, 41 touches so far. That's a lot for a winger. It's they're really trying to push that. There's another one trying to push that attack up his side.
And he puts it in behind for Nuhu. Nuhu low ball in, defended by Ibiaga at the near post. And now Dallas going to try and play through the pressure down the line. Patrickson holds a man on his back, and then Keehee just lays on top of him and commits a foul. It's the first of the match day 15 slate here across MLS. We'll have San Diego and LA to enjoy after this one goes final, and then of course the whole host of action tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah, poor Sam and Ryan had to listen to me lining up my night of MLS watching later today.
Yeah, I just go to MLS 360 unless there's a true marquee game.
You say Messi is a marquee?
Maybe not the way it's been going recently. Here's a ball down the line from Ferreira. Roldan gets there before it heads out of play. Back post, Kent nods it down. Show able to receive it under no pressure and dribble clear. Looking for options ahead of him. Dropped off for Pedrinho into midfield, Ramiro. Ramiro gets turned, finds Patrickson with some space, and Patrickson into the attacking half now. Spreads it out wide left for Kamungo. Kamungo back to Patrickson centrally. Dallas working it up the left side. Space for Marco Farfan. Nobody out to close him down. He drops it off for Ramiro. Disguised pass into the middle for Farrington. Farrington holding off John Bell. Finds Ramiro. Ramiro space to shoot. Gets the effort away. Oh, great save from Stefan Fry down to his right as Ramiro not far away from his first FC Dallas goal there.
Don't know how many people here in the booth, down on the field in green shirts, expected Ramiro to shoot that, but he gave it a good effort. Forced a good save off of Fry. As Logan Farrington had the ball at the top of the D, I would love to see Pedrinho, instead of standing there, move out wide and create an angle and create a little bit of space for Farrington.
This has turned into a corner kick opportunity here in the 57th minute. Pedrinho bending it in towards the back post. Ibiaga with the header on target, but Stefan Fry able to make the claim.
And Ibiaga knows it too. He heads it anywhere but right at Stefan Fry. Seattle's in trouble there.
2 straight shots on target for Dallas, 3 in the second half now, eclipsing what they managed in the first 45 already here in the 57th minute.
Stefan Fry is 38 years old. I want to see them make him. I want to see them make him work like Ramiro did.
Or maybe, you know, just try and work through bodies. I think that's one of the most difficult things for goalkeepers to do, trying to come for crosses. Possession here with Seattle. John Bell in the center circle as we're just approaching the hour mark.
See Seattle getting a little frustrated in moments. And look, I tell you what, I know it's in the 60s, but when you're on artificial turf and the sun beating down the way it is.
And I think I just saw a triple change coming from the Dallas side. We'll get a look at that in a moment. That would be something pre-planned, probably on the 60th minute.
Well, they've already made 1 change, so that would only give them 1 change remaining if they make 3 now.
Keehee brings it up the far side, then just puts a ball in behind without a name attached. Easy for Martin Paz to come and claim.
And again, I think that's Seattle getting just a little frustrated.
Abubakar, nice ball through the lines, finds Farrington. Farrington gets turned. He drives into the attacking half now. John Bell across to meet him. Patrickson out wide right, receives it. Finds Farrington now, supplying the width. Farrington moving from right to left. Space for Pedrinho at the top of the box. He does now find Pedrinho. Pedrinho chips it ahead. Logan Farrington inside the box, goes down. And the referee waves him up. And Farrington's holding his neck. He's still down and writhing around as we play on in the 59th minute. And I don't really understand why the play wasn't stopped for a potential head injury. Eventually Nuhu takes matters into his own hands and puts it out of play. Chapman across to check on Logan Farrington. As we wait for a replay to see what kind of contact there truly was there. And we might not get one. Farrington now helped up by Stephen Fry. And we see Dallas's bench buzzing with activity. Kayike, Musa, and Shaq Moore, the three up and ready to enter the match. Here is that replay.
Yeah, Pedrinho spoons a little ball up, and I tell you what, Nuhu is not going for the ball. He gets his elbow up. I think there's a case there. They'll check it, of course. It's Chris Penso. He's an experienced VAR.
I think the key is maybe that neither player was going to get the ball, and whether you believe that should count or not.
Neither player may get the ball, but you can't just shove a guy from behind.
Exactly.
Wait a minute. Am I the guy now?
I think we swapped roles.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, what happened there? Freaky Friday moment.
These early kickoffs, man.
Yeah, right.
So Ibiaga's coming off for Shaq Moore, which will slide Abubakar into the middle.
Yeah, you got to make a play for the ball. I just saw another replay. It's just an attempt to knock the player away from the ball. Nuhu has no intention of going for the ball there as he makes contact behind, and I recognize it's a high bar for a penalty kick there, but I've certainly seen worse than that called.
Kaike's in now for Patrickson, and Musa is on for Farrington, who put in a great shift an hour and really was the outlet for Dallas. But now Petr Musa in these moments when games can be won or lost. Can he be the decisive one? Picked up an assist on Wednesday. Had such a hot start to the season, 3 goals and 3 assists in the opening 5 weeks before he picked up that ankle injury against Seattle.
So we'll look and see if there's a shape change here for Dallas or if it's just a bunch of like for likes.
Keehe, who's really struggled in the last 5 minutes with his passing, puts one straight out of play. 35-year-old veteran might be feeling the effects of having to play 90 minutes week in, week out right now with the absentees.
And as I said, it's hot.
Well, Ibiaga stayed out there, and that means the subs information that we got maybe wasn't fully correct. I do see Shaq Moore.
I think he might be playing as a right midfielder. Maybe, we'll see.
Ramiro's out there, Kayike in midfield. Show came off, I think, instead of Ibiaga by the looks of things. Here's a ball that breaks for Musa in the middle, and Musa just didn't check his shoulder there. Christian Roldan feasting on those today. Third time he's just picked the pocket of a Dallas player.
Roldan has been so good for Seattle for so long. I mean, he's really he's a beating heart of the team in a lot of ways. Starter since 16 for them.
Doesn't look like Dallas is playing with a back three at the moment, even with all of the center backs and Shaq Moore out there. I think you're right, Steve, that Moore's just going to be deployed here further forward.
I think he'll end up being the right-sided midfielder when they defend.
Well, in the midweek, it was Paxton Pomykal who was the makeshift right midfielder. Dallas without Leo Chu, who would have loved to make his return to Lumen Field, but he's, a matter of a couple weeks away. Leggett even closer. Those are the 2 non-season ending injuries remaining for Dallas at the moment.
So they'll just defend with the 8. Bernie Kamungo on the left. Shaq Moore on the right. And then Ramiro and Kayike in those holding roles.
Farfan, ball looking for Pedrinho, picked off by Roldan. And Roldan was in the process of giving the pass away, and Pedrinho just sort of nudged him from behind and committed the foul. This one about 10 yards into the Dallas half. Rusnak picks up the ball and gets the play going down the right side. Low cross swung in, comfortable for Martin Paas, right at him.
Yeah, Ryan, the ironic thing is, for the last maybe 5 to 10 minutes before those subs, you sort of felt like Dallas had a little bit more of the field tilt going their way. I don't mind the subs simply because I think it was pre-planned that way, and I think they needed to get some fresh legs out there, but ironic either way.
Martin Paas, not for the first time, actually picking out a teammate really well with the long passing, and he's actually leading MLS in long pass percentage amongst goalkeepers. But Dallas unable to turn it into something. That time Shaq Moore, a little bit of a loose touch.
So whereas it was fluid a while ago, I think now it'll be Pedrinho playing underneath Peter Musa up front. Sort of play side by side when they defend.
Here's Ryan Kent trying to put this one in behind. Roldan makes the run. Roldan brings it down on the chest, edge of the box. Urguide comes away with the ball, and now he'll drive. Dallas go in the other direction. Out to Shaq Moore. Moore cuts past the defender. Urguide makes the run in behind.
And he had the run too.
Good switching ball though. Here's Kamungo, brings it down. Kamungo with options in the attack either side. Kamungo driving into the 18, cuts past one defender, sets up Urguide, top of the box onto his right foot. Still battling for it in the D, and shoved down. Judged to have fallen on top of the ball there, and he commits the foul.
Urguide is so good, but I think he got the ball in a spot that he doesn't usually get the ball on the inside the attacking D. It's a little slow to...
Good moment there from Shaq Moore too, though. I mean, he had the ball to Urguide in behind, but the pass out to Kamungo really keyed the attack. 66th minute. Eric Cole using his squad today. He's now made 4 changes after making a host of changes with rotation in the 11. Coming off 120 minutes midweek, Seattle were sitting and watching. Keehee out to the far side. Alex Roldan finds Christian Roldan, space in midfield. He hits the diagonal switch. We've seen this many times before. Out to Ryan Kent here on the near side inside the 18. Kent onto his right foot, sets it back to Vargas. Vargas out wide left for Nuhu. Nuhu early cross swung in over the head of Abubakar, but Ibiaga able to send it clear, and then Kamungo tripped up, nothing given, and shot towards the back post from Rusnak is inches wide.
Dallas players making an immediate appeal to Alan Chapman, saying they thought Kamungo was fouled.
I think he was already going down, which maybe the referee saw, but he did definitely take contact on the ankle. And
I thought he maybe got his foot stepped on, as I thought what happened.
Well, Rusnak, if you give him that chance again, you won't be in this game as you are now. It was a golden opportunity for him from the top of the box, dragged wide, as now Seattle make 2, maybe 3 changes. Ferreira and De La Vega replaced, Rothrock and Manungu on. So Ferreira, unless we see Seattle in the playoffs, which, I mean, that can be a sure bet if both teams make it, goes scoreless against FC Dallas this season in the 2 matchups. And Rothrock, the only player who's played every game for Brian Schmetzer, is up off the bench to replace him here. Shaq Moore meandering up the right side, needs support. Can't find a teammate. Musa just sort of crowding his space there. Long ball sent down the field. First header won by Rusnak, but nobody in particular there for Seattle. It's retrieved by Farfan.
Looks like Marco Farfan might have to go the full 90. Hope he's up for that.
Musa on the halfway line. Ball ahead for Pedrinho. Sets it back to Musa. Wide right, Shaq Moore. Thought about the early cross, but Musa needs to make his way into the 18. Instead finds Pedrinho with some space. Pedrinho, man on his back. Now corner the 18, sets it back for Ramiro. Back to Pedrinho on the turn. Pedrinho into the box, sets it up for Musa. Musa goes down, waved up again by Keehee. Contact from Keehee, sorry, waved up by Alan Chapman.
Yeah, I think Peter Musa sensed he was about to lose the ball and just went down pretty easily there.
First involvement for Manungu, who's set up on the right side, replacing De La Vega. Rothrock through the middle here. Manungu, product of the Tacoma Defiance. And Seattle's pathway through next pro. He's faced up Farfan here, drop of the shoulder, going to show his speed, get to the end line. Kaike comes across, nice sliding tackle there from the Brazilian to put it out for a corner.
Every time I see Kaique, I just find something else to like about his game. That time he really recognized the danger. It's always dangerous when you go down inside the penalty area, but I think he went down under control, knew exactly what he was doing there.
70th minute corner coming from Seattle. And we're seeing on our screen the 88th corner of the season for them, the most in Major League Soccer. Rusnak swings this one in, header towards the back post, and Martin Paas flashed a dive but didn't require a touch as Nuhu got that one turned towards goal, but just off target.
I thought maybe Martin Paas had got a touch, but no, I see on the replay it was that ball was actually, it looked kind of dangerous, but I think in the end it was about 3 or 4 feet wide.
Yeah, just spinning the wrong way for Nuhu.
70th minute, there you go. Find a way to get to the 80th.
Dallas sort of feeling out the new shape with the new personnel since the changes. Martin Paas waved no more by the referee in terms of taking too long over the set piece. He sends his teammates up the field. Puts some air underneath this one towards Abubakar. Beaten to it there by Christian Roldan, but it runs all the way back through to Martin Paas. Seattle, I think, have keyed in on the fact that Dallas is trying to hit Abubakar on these goal kicks.
I never feel like the yellow card for the goalkeeper is a big deal for delay, but I think what happens is you've antagonized the referee a little bit, and it just adds on more time at the end.
Paas with a booming punt down the field, and it arrives for Stefan Frei in the opposite 18. Kamungo was interested in the area. Roldan lifts this one in behind. Ryan Kent, first touch, takes him down towards the corner flag. He's going to match up here with Abubakar. Abubakar on a yellow. Finds Vargas centrally. Now Roldan getting turned back to Ryan Kent. Loose pass there, intercepted by Shaq Moore. And Shaq Moore on it after a loose pass from himself, and now he's going to drive forward, looking for options ahead. Early ball swung in, but got that one wrong. And I think Shaq Moore maybe just unfamiliar with this position. He hasn't really found a way to connect with anybody up the right side since coming in.
Yeah, I will say Bernie Kamungo keeping a wide position out there on the left. That's one where he needs to just make a big diagonal run and give a little bit more of a target.
Dallas defending in the 4-4-2. It's what they've done all afternoon. Pedrinho and Musa at the front two. Now Shaq Moore and Kamungo wide either side. Here's Manungu, had a good moment.
They've defended well on the left side, keeping Roldan from being dangerous, even though he gets into advanced spots from his right back spot. But on the left side is where Kent's really had a pretty good day, although not ultimately effective so far.
Here's a ball through midfield for John Bell. Rusnak back to Roldan, sliding tackle there. And Dallas come away with the ball. Pedrinho finds Musa out into space. It's behind everybody. Kamungo alert to it and able to retrieve possession. And Dallas have it here, moving it across the back line. Urugide. Ebiaga into midfield for Ramiro. Ramiro wide right for Shaq Moore. Ramiro here caught between two defenders. Not a passing option on for him. Kaique comes across and wins possession back. Good cameo so far from the Pitbull off the bench. Finds the feet of Musa. And now Shaq Moore. Ball looking for Pedrinho. Just needs to make that run a little bit earlier. It's given away as Nsabalang is ready to enter the match for Dallas. That will be their 5th and final change. A bold one if they choose to make it here in the 74th minute.
You wonder if maybe it's going to be a Abubakar that comes off. Shaq goes back and adds Siki into the midfield.
Here's a nice flick from Musa. Pedrinho out to Marco Farfan on the overlap up the left side. Finds Kamungo supplying the width. Ball in behind for Farfan to the byline. Cut back cross, chipped in towards Shaq Moore, who got his head on it, but it was just behind him. He couldn't get it on target. Really nice build up there for Dallas, and so far it just hasn't been Shaq Moore's afternoon playing at right midfield.
Yeah, good work all the way around, but you're right. The final cross was just a little bit behind Shaq Moore.
Well, I was wondering about this. Marco Farfan is down right now with a cramp. He's just back from double surgery on both legs for compartment syndrome. And a good shift from him today. He's the one to be replaced by Nsabelang. We'll see how that shifts the formation. We did see Nsiki Nsabelang play left back for about 5 minutes at home earlier this season. It's not something I would support seeing again.
Yeah, I'm really curious about this too. It looks like maybe Shaq Moore has gone over there, or we'll see here in a second.
So yeah, it is Shaq Moore at left back, Abubakar still at right back, and Nsabelang the right midfielder.
Well, we said it was going to have to be makeshift all day, and boy, that's makeshift. You've got your center back playing right back, your right back playing left back, and
a good first involvement from Moore on the far side. Wins the header, puts it out in front of Kamungo. Sliding tackle out of play from Alex Roldan. Getting a look right now at the closest Dallas has come to scoring, and that was the Ramiro shot from the top of the box. Saved by Stefan Frey down to his right. Seattle playing with fire a little bit there. Ball up in the air as they move it across the back line. Pedrinho putting pressure on. But the home side maintains possession. Find the ball forward for Obed Vargas. Here's Kent matched up with Abubakar. Drop of the shoulder. Now Kent heading up the end line and Nsabelang across to support, and he forces Kent to drop it back to Nuhu. Kihi out wide right for Manungu, matched up with Shaq Moore. Shaq Moore on his heels a little bit here as Manungu drives the cross into the 18, defended by Ramiro. And a loose pass from Kaike, turned it over. Here's Kent inside the box. Kent towards the back post, and that one turned home from close range. The flag goes up, though, against Georgie Manungu. That may be what Dallas needed, as a loose pass turns into a potential Seattle opening goal. We'll take a look now.
Yeah, it's counter press, and I think Manungu is going to be pretty clearly offside here.
You're more confident than me.
Well, not by a long way, but you know, I don't think you'd be able to take a look at that and say it's a clear and obvious error. The flag had gone up, so. Hey, look, and by the way, if you think Dallas has just settled in for a tie, I mean, I know a lot of this is circumstance, but look, right now, it's a pretty attacking lineup. They have two offensive-minded players playing on the outside in this 4-4-2.
Arguide wrestled to the ground there by Paul Rothrock. He wins a foul. 77th minute. Both teams with the number 77 out there, playing on the left wing. Kent and Kamungo.
Good observation there.
That's why the people tune in, you know. Numbers talk.
It's the little things, Ryan.
You don't often see the double 77s.
No, you don't.
Shaq Moore drops it all the way back to Martin Paas. Diagonal out towards Abubakar, who again wins the first header. That's been a pretty consistent route out of pressure for Dallas today. Ramiro gets a foot to the ball. Eric Quill, you can hear him over the crowd mic, waving his team back in, trying to up the intensity here. Knows he's not far away from a potential result at a place where Dallas seldom find even a point.
Well, they've just about found a way to get to the 80th minute. Then they'll have to find a way to get to the 90th, especially considering what happened last weekend. Was that Kihi that just played a ball straight out of bounds?
He's had a rough second half.
Yeah, with the ball, I think his defensive work's been okay. Dallas, actually right now, more shots on target than Seattle, 5-4.
And 2 of the Seattle 4 were those double chance for Jesus Ferreira in the opening 10 minutes. Since then, pretty quiet. Shaq Moore with the throw in over everybody's head in red and blue. Ramiro defending against Rusnak, who finds the feet of Rothrock. Musa helping out defensively, won it back but couldn't find Kamungo.
Musa does so good at that, so well at that. Just always willing to come back and help a little bit defensively. Sometimes a little too much, as he's not the best at it.
Ball wide right. Alex Roldan finds the ball into Rusnak, who leaves it for Manungu. And Dallas, I think, fortunate that he did. Had more space than he realized. And Dallas play out of pressure well. Kaike receives it up the right side from Abubakar. Ball down the line was deflected, but it got to Pedrinho anyway. Now into the feet of Musa centrally. Set back for Ramiro. Wide with Kamungo. Numbers streaming forward here for Dallas. Bernie Kamungo gonna run at Alex Roldan. Manungu back to help as well. Drop of the shoulder. Bernie's headed to the end line, drops it off for Pedrinho, cross swung in. Nobody really moving in there for Dallas. It was easily ahead of the way. But Ka'ike retrieves the second ball.
Yeah, I'd like to see Peter Musa anticipate that cross a little earlier.
And Sabalenka on it. Out wide right to Pedrinho. And Sabalenka loses his footing, but that sets a screen for Pedrinho. And now Ka'ike from distance got a good amount behind it, and it's deflected behind for a corner. And with his reaction, I think this one might have been headed on target.
I think good patient buildup all the way around, and when you have a patient buildup, the key there is spacing and making sure you're not getting in each other's way, as we sort of talked about a little bit a while ago. That was a good possession for Dallas.
And there's a player who stayed down, getting help for a cramp in the middle for Seattle. Pedrinho will wait to take the corner kick. Seattle have made 3 changes in 2 sub windows, so they've got 2 still remaining, but they'd have to come at the same time. Pedrinho, air underneath this one. It's Abubakar unmarked, flicked in towards Musa, got the header towards goal, but off target.
That's a design play and worked pretty well. We saw it. They tried it a while ago and it didn't work as well, but a big floating ball to the backside, a couple of screens run for Abubakar, who heads it back across goal, and it was a deflect or a sort of a glancing header from Peter Musa, and he just got it high over the target.
Ryan Kent running into 2 Dallas defenders, and I don't think I agree with the referee giving a foul there on the halfway line, but it's a little bit of a bailout for Ryan Kent, as 2 more changes are coming for Seattle. Reed Baker Whiting and Osaze De Rosario. All out wide right with Manungu for Seattle. 81st minute. Down the line for Roldan. Thought the flag might go up there.
I did too.
It doesn't belatedly as Dallas work it clear, but only as far as Manungu, edge of the 18. Skips past 2 defenders. Ka'ike goes sliding in again. And does enough to avoid contact with the player and the ball.
I think Manungu was going to go down no matter what there, but Kaike's got to be careful there as he's sliding tackles.
And he sort of caught him with his left leg too, but gets the benefit of the doubt that time. And now we're going to see what has to be the first ever Osaze against Osaze matchup in MLS history.
I think that's safe to say.
As the son of MLS legend Dwayne De Rosario, Osaze De Rosario has entered the match. Recently brought up from the second team, wearing the number 95. And Baker Whiting in for Nuhu, a like-for-like replacement at left back. Kent replaced by De Rosario. And as bright as he looked, busy as he looked, you got to say Abubakar kept him quiet.
I agree. I don't think we heard much from him over the last, 10 minutes or so. I think he got a little tired. Maybe tired of dealing with Abubakar. Good for Lawless.
Dallas trying to work it up the far side. Shackmore going for the 1-2. Now he's caught out of position here as Kamungo's going to have to defend for him. Switching ball out to Baker Whiting, his first involvement here on the near side. Pedrinho at full tilt to try and get back in defensively. It's wide left with Rothrock. He's going to play on the wing with De Rosario through the middle. Roldan out to Manungu, just about able to keep it in place. Faces up Shackmore. Just go 1v1, couple of step overs. Again, Ka'ike, same move, sliding tackle to cut off the angle. And this time he comes away with the ball, but then gives it away, loose touch. Then stabs in with another tackle.
That's the counter press, and Kaike's got to be aware that that's coming.
You can hear the Seattle fans getting behind their team here in the 83rd minute, looking for an opening goal. Early cross swung in. Abubakar under pressure from Rothrock helps it clear. Second ball won by Baker Whiting, top of the box. Then Urguide, Rango Sazi gets it clear. And now Kamungo has some space on the far side, puts it through the legs of Christian Roldan. And just go down, Bernie. He was a little too honest there.
Yeah, I don't think there was enough contact there, to be honest. I think he just tried to put it through his legs, and Roldan was better there.
Now it's Rothrock, a new challenge for Abubakar to deal with. This time Rothrock gets the cross in, and Urguide sends it clear. And the soft one given away here by Kamungo. A little bit of a tug in the back, push in the back against Christian Roldan.
Didn't see much in that one, to be honest.
It's a chance they're going to send the center backs forward, and Rusnak stands over it. 84th minute.
It's about 35 yards out along the right side, so definitely a serve.
And towards the back post. And we've got a penalty kick here awarded for Seattle. Uragide, I thought he clearly got ahead to it. And this is just going to be heartbreak here. I mean, just a nothing ball into the box. Conversation between Uragide and Alan Chapman.
Oh, it's too bad too, and you know it's a pretty questionable foul that leads to that. Definitely hits Irigide's arm, and that's a handball. Just being honest, because he sticks his arm out. What I hate, Ryan, is that I don't think it was a foul that led to the free kick.
Yellow card goes to Musa for dissent. A lot of the usual forward players have been taken off here for Seattle, so we'll see who steps up to take the penalty.
I think it's Rusnak.
He is the usual go-to.
That's you just got to say that's a mistake from Uragide. He's trying to obstruct Manungo a little bit, but then he's just got to keep those arms tucked inside.
Well, Martin, coming off a shootout in which he made a save on Wednesday in the Open Cup, needs something here for Dallas as Rusnak stares him down from 12 yards. It's Albert Rusnak on the approach, and he rolls it into the net. Martin Paz goes the wrong way. And Seattle lead here in the 86th minute as Albert Rusnak just threw his jersey into the crowd. He's going to need that.
I don't think he can come off the field. They made 5.
Well, that is just devastating. In a week that has been full of devastation for Dallas.
Yeah, it's such a heartbreak. As I mentioned, Dallas had actually taken the lead in shots on goal. I thought they were playing pretty well, defending pretty well, and it's just a mistake. It's not the best penalty as Martin Paz goes to his right. It's a little bit off center over to Martin Paz's left. It is low and hard. Either way, it's 1-0 in the 87th minute.
And the Seattle fan who caught the jersey managed to get it back in for Rusnak. 87th minute now. Dallas behind and in need of a response. A week of almosts for them looks set to continue here unless they can turn the tide at Lumen Field. Loose ball picked up off the head of Musa by Siki Nsabalang. Nice work from Nsabalang there. Finds Kaike centrally. Kaike going for the reverse ball, looking for Musa. Hasn't been great with the ball, Kaike. This one's in behind, and Ibiaga's got to deal with De Rosario here. He does well.
The turf in the sun, it just gets so dry. We've seen that several times where the ball just almost stops as it's played forward. Ibiaga was able to adjust and handle it.
Kaike, nice pass this time. Lifts it out to Shaq Moore on the far side. Moore going to go on the dribble. Poked inside for Bernie Kamungo. Here's Kamungo inside the 18. Shot blocked by Kihi. Spinning out for a corner, but kept in play by Roldan there. And then Kaike, contact from Manungo. He's won a foul, and it's a similar spot for the free kick that Seattle took on the other side that led to the penalty.
I think there's been a few times when Dallas could have done that, though. You mentioned one a minute ago that I wasn't sure about, but maybe you're right. Seattle does that pretty well. Draw the contact, go down, get the free kick. Look what it just did for Seattle.
89th minute. Pedrinho will stand over this free kick. Out towards the far side, the line set a couple yards into the 18 by Seattle. Lifted in, flicked along towards the back post. Oh, arriving late was Abubakar, and last touch was off Seattle.
Oh, Lawless at the back post. I think he didn't anticipate that flick. And you know what we always say is just believe that ball is coming to you. I mean, the worst thing it's going to do is you're going to stick your foot out and nothing's going to happen.
I think he would have been offside if it had got to him. So maybe Dallas will just take the corner.
Well, I couldn't tell, but did it come off a Seattle player?
Pedrinho lifts it in. battle for it. Musa challenging, helped along and clear by De Rosario. Ramiro underhits a pass out to Pedrinho. Rusnak can't keep it in play. It's out for a Dallas throw.
You've got your center backs up there, Ramiro. Just go ahead and put it right back in the box.
Long throw from Nsabalang. Musa gets the first contact. Rothrock with a bit of an awkward one there with Urguide for company. But eventually it's all the way through to Martin Pass, way out off his line to keep Dallas ticking along here as we're approaching stoppage time. Ibiaga, diagonal out towards Abubakar, challenging for it. Neither player got ahead on the ball. And then Seattle send it clear. This one going to stay in play. Manungu is at full tilt to try and get there. Urguide gets a body on him and helps it back to Ibiaga. Sends it down the field. Again, Abubakar challenging for it. He was offside. They'll wave it away and play on. As it's with Seattle.
Urguide doesn't look that big, but he is a strong player. We can tell that.
And Abubakar is just going to stay forward here as we're about to find out how much time will remain in this game. Dallas with 4 players around the ball, and they come away with it. A throw in, taken quickly by Kayike down the line. Abubakar holds it up, back to Kayike. Nice feet through a couple players, finds Musa, give and go. Kayike up the left side. 6 minutes added on. It's out off Seattle and out for a throw. Dallas with a good response to going behind here. Tilting it back towards the Seattle goal. Shaq Moore takes the throw into Ramiro. Set back for Moore to take the cross on. Headed out for a throw. This one closer to the corner flag now. And Moore going to try and put some air underneath this one. Lifts it in. Flicked on by Urguide. Just please hit a hand. Something. And that's what it worked for Seattle at the other end. Here's Urguide, brings it down top of the box, turning, gets a shot away, blocked out to Shaq Moore, curler towards the back post over everybody, and out for a goal kick.
I think Dallas a little unlucky there. Urguide did get pulled down, but as the ball just sort of squirts out towards Shaq Moore, Alan Chapman decides to play on, which is probably the correct call in that case. But I think if it had gone to a Seattle player, Alan Chapman might have blown the whistle.
Minute and a half played of the 6. And now it's Stephen Fry's turn to take his time. And Chapman is aware, giving him the countdown as he launches it long. Urguide wins the header, but it's straight out of play.
We haven't implemented the countdown rule yet, have we? That I didn't know about?
Well,
we haven't. But
the rule that's still to come would be that if a goalkeeper holds onto it too long, it would go out for a corner.
But it's going to get that countdown. Just like Alan Chapman just did. Maybe Chapman's just getting a little practice.
De Rosario waved up by Chapman. And Dallas looked to go the other way. Kayike can't connect with Kamungo through the middle. And now a ball lifted in behind. Offside flag stays down for now. It's De Rosario, saved by Martin Pass. And now the flag does go up. And everybody knew it. Everybody knew it.
I thought it was enough that he should have just put that up initially. But either way, gives Martin Pass a chance to show off a little bit. Nice save.
Yeah, good game for him. Unfortunate he couldn't come up with a penalty stop, and that would have been Team of the Week stuff from the Dallas goalkeeper. Musa, 2 chances at it, gets it down the line for Pedrinho, just holding up on that dry turf you talked about. Musa back across to help support, but takes a heavy touch, turns it over to Rothrock. Musa on a yellow, doesn't need anything silly here. And Rothrock runs into Kayike. Kayike direct over the top. Here's Abubakar. Abubakar puts his right foot through it. Oh, it's off the post. Just nothing will fall for Dallas right now, as Abubakar nearly had the goal of his life.
Well, the 2 best chances for Dallas today, Ramiro and Abubakar. How about that?
I mean, he just absolutely rockets that one off the post on the far side. Fry had no chance at it.
I mean, on the turn at about 26, 27 yards.
Well, it was put behind for a corner, so another chance. Pedrinho into the middle. Ibiaga wins the first header. Nobody at the back post.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Dallas red.
If Dallas can't get a result today, it's not Lalas Abubakar's fault. He's been a warrior.
Baker Whiting trying to buy a foul from Shaq Moore. Credit to the referee. I think he's been up to it today in terms of not giving those.
I still say the foul that created the penalty kick. I don't know. I thought that was soft.
Ramiro into Nsabalang. 2 minutes to play here in second half stoppage time. Nsabalang going to drive forward. Poked ahead, but dealt with there by Vargas. And now Manungu will run for the hills. Kaike comes across and goes sliding in, and that one's a little bit desperate. He's picked up a yellow card there. And he's gone back in for more against Manungu. He needs to be smart about this one. He did get the ball, but it was a pretty vicious swipe through the player.
Well, I think it was just position. It was from behind. And yes, he got some of the ball, but sort of went through Manungu's ankle to get it.
Manungu can stay down here with the yellow card having been given to Kaike. Well, we'll talk about it more in depth on the postgame show, but it's just another performance for Dallas where, man, the margins have just gone against them. I think they've really shown well here, particularly in the second half.
Yeah, I think it's a brave performance. I think they got a little unlucky.
I mean, the Abubakar rocket off the post just sort of sums it up. We're in the final minute of the 6th. You hope there'll be a little bit more added on, as we've lost a minute there for the Manungu injury.
Well, either way, I think this will be Dallas's last chance with the ball.
Ramiro lifts it forward, bounces over the head of Baker Whiting, finds Pedrinho. Pedrinho holding off the player on his hip. Now Musa out to Abubakar, set back for Bernie Kamungo. And the offside flag goes up belatedly there against Abubakar.
I think that pretty much sums up Dallas's afternoon. I mean, it's good work, good fight to keep the ball, and then, as you said, small margins, just offside by a step, and that just might be it.
Fry waits for as long as he's allowed here, and now launches it long. And that will do it in Seattle, a place where Dallas has had no luck over the years, and that continues today. Astute defensive performance, chances on the counter, but a unfortunate handball leads to a Rusnak penalty converted in the 86th minute, and that is as far as the scoring sheet goes. We'll talk about it on the post-game show. A performance again to build on, but the results just not going Dallas's way this week. Seattle 1, FC Dallas 0 from Lumen Field.
So, what'd you do this weekend?
Well, just took the Tacoma off-road, deep into the woods, got to this hidden campsite only it could reach.
Nice. I hooked up the boat to the Tundra and hit up the lake. Towed it like a pro. Had the whole lake to ourselves.
Hey, wait, did I mention I went rock climbing too? Uh-huh, yeah, thanks to the Tacoma's crawl control.
Well, sounds like we both had fun weekends.
Mine was better.
The Toyota Tundra and Tacoma are built for all the fun. Test drive at your local Toyota dealer or visit Toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. Feature availability differs based on trim. See Toyota.com for details.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, Texas, where discoveries change lives. The spark of collaboration that fuels bold thinking in our labs. The spark of inspiration that motivates greatness in the next generation. And the spark of innovation that pushes the boundaries of today's care. At UT Southwestern, teamwork and talent combine to fuel discovery, education, and healing. UT Southwestern, the future of medicine sparks here.
Hi everyone, it's Marco Farfan, and you're listening to FC Dallas Soccer on the FC Dallas app.
After 90 plus in Seattle, it's once again heartbreak for FC Dallas as they lose 1-0 on a penalty kick courtesy of Albert Rusnak. Hello everybody, it's the FC Dallas postgame show brought to you today by your local Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. Also brought to you by UMB Bank. See how UMB can help you achieve your business goals. Well, it was 85 minutes of tenacious soccer, really nice 6 minutes of tenacious soccer for Dallas, but a light foul leads to a free kick that leads to a handball, which leads to the Rusnak PK in the 86th, the only goal scored all day. And Dallas, despite arguably being as good, if not a little bit better than Seattle, goes home with no points as they look ahead to Cincinnati on Wednesday. Let's get you today's post-game stats, which are brought to you by UMB Bank. Possession goes the way of the Sounders 60-39. You've got 15 shots and 5 shots on goal for both sides, although you've got 5 corners for Dallas, just 4 for the Sounders. If you like XG, 3.1 XG for the Sounders, 1.2 for FCD. 5 saves for Stephen Fry, 4 saves for Martin Paas. You had 14 fouls for Dallas, 8 for the Sounders. 5 yellow cards for the Toros, just 1 for the Rave Green. As we bring in the commentary team for today's matchup, it's Ryan Figert and Steve Davis. I don't see a lot of happy faces on this side, but I can't blame it. But I'll start with Ryan since he's the closest to me. And look, the result sucks. There's no getting around that. You play so well for so long, and you lose on what is going to be considered a light foul. But I would contend that you learned a lot about your squad today, both as a group and individually. And if you just put the result aside, which sounds silly on a certain level, I think there's a lot to actually feel good about from this FC Dallas squad.
There is, but I don't want to be disingenuous and say that this doesn't suck right now.
Oh, it does. It does.
I mean, you've just lost now 3 in a row. I mean, technically the Wednesday game's a draw, but you go out of the cup, it's all the same. You lose a rivalry game at home. You lose in a penalty shootout after, I would say, one of your best performances of the season on Wednesday, and then you go to Seattle and you say, the odds are stacked against you in this one. You have 120 minutes while they just got to sit and train on Wednesday, and you're without Lucho Acosta, who's suspended, wasn't involved today. So many things going against you to put up that performance, put up that fight. There is a lot to be proud of. I agree with you, but I definitely want to, be in the mindset of results have to start coming, right? Results have to start coming, and ultimately, this is the second straight game when the margins have gone desperately against Dallas, and for as little as Seattle did to really earn a penalty, if the soccer gods were just in any way, Abubakar's shot flies in off the post and it's a 1-1, but ultimately that one comes off the post, and Dallas now have to pick themselves back up, and they've got to go to one of the hardest venues in the league on Wednesday, and it feels like we can only keep doing this song and dance of performance is good, results not there for so long. At some point, it's going to have to come together.
Well, here's the thing. You say the results have to start coming. I would propose that the results start coming when you learn lessons. There are lessons to be learned out here today, and it's not fun. But if you can learn something from these moments, a couple of things today. Again, just like the other day, you lose the game in sort of on a mistake. That was a foul in the last part of the match, in the last 10 minutes or the last very few minutes the other night. You have to be smarter. It was one of the keys to the game. You've got to be smart about where are you defending from the right side. And if you're not, you can't foul.
Was it the Kansas City game where we spent the whole second half up 2-1 and just gave away free kicks and free kicks and free kicks in dangerous spots? I mean, it does add up. That's it,
exactly. It does. So you have to also, in the 80th minute, you have to learn how to nurse that game home. I kept saying, get to the next 10 minutes, get to the next 10 minutes. Well, then, once you get to the 80th minute, that last 10 minutes, it takes even something more. So what else do you need to do? And one of the things is you can't foul. The other day it was Paxton Pomykal fouling, and maybe it was a foul, maybe it wasn't, but he did go to the ground. I don't know. But then once the free kick is taken, you can't jump and turn your back. Today, I don't know whether it's Musa, Ryan, was it Musa or Bernie that ended up being called for that foul that I thought was soft anyway?
I think it was Bernie, yeah.
So but again, you can't foul there. Maybe it wasn't a foul. Maybe I'm being a little harsh there. So you've got to learn the lessons. I think there were moments today when in transition, when Dallas had opportunities, maybe they could be sharper in transition. Learn your lesson. Be sharper in those minutes. Punish Seattle, and maybe it turns a 1-0 potential win into a 1-1 draw, but at least you've got that. So continue to learn lessons. It's still a project. It's still a new coach. It's still a turnover roster. But please learn your lessons from these at least.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the teams that have long-term sustained success are the ones that learn process first and then end up getting results, as opposed to just resulting their way and ignoring the process. And that's not to say that Dallas is becoming an MLS Cup winner in a year or two, but you definitely feel like this is the journey they're going on. And we saw, we've talked a lot this year about shots in general, that the offense has been lacking. Well, you go to Seattle today, you put up 15 total shots, a third of those are on target. You could argue some of them weren't super high quality, although you get Lalo Sabubakar, who rails one off the far post, and which none of us saw coming. And I think that's part of where you can see the progress. Dallas seems to have maybe, in some ways, found what they want to do over the last couple games. It's a lot of transition, and it's not always high-quality shots, but they're establishing some consistent patterns. Now they just got to figure out how to pay them off in the end.
Yeah, look, it's Seattle's missing their two best center backs, their top two center backs. Very good, probably best combination in Major League Soccer. So that's some of it. But we've talked. You're absolutely right. I've sat here plenty of times and said it's not enough shots. It's not enough good chance creation. On the road in Seattle, 5 shots on target, 15 shots. That's pretty good.
Yeah, they came into today with the second fewest shots per game in MLS, only ahead of Kansas City, and they doubled up their season average today.
Yeah.
And I think something else you've learned, if we're staying kind of in the positive here, I think you have found some pieces that you can work with going forward. Specifically, I think this, and maybe I'm the only one here, I think this is the game where Ka'ike finally moved over Ramiro in the depth chart, even though he didn't start it. But I liked what the energy that he's been consistent over his last few performances, and I think that while I think Ramiro has things to add to this squad, we're seeing now when you stack the two up with experience, I personally like what Ka'ike brings a little bit more over a long 90-minute game than Ramiro does at this rate.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would agree with you in terms of what we see, all the information that we have available to us. It's obviously not all the information, because I think there's something there with Ramiro. He's played every minute for Quill. I mean, clearly this is somebody who he trusts, whether it's tactically, whether it's communication. There's something about him that he feels is really important to the point of leaving him on the field, to the point of getting sent off on Wednesday, coming back in and playing 90 minutes again, even with the first half yellow card today. He trusts him. I agree with you that I think Ka'ike adds more, as particularly in terms of mobility. I think, when you have, we've been talking about it for a couple weeks now, when you have Paxton and Ka'ike together, that's a ton of ground coverage and ball winning, and that can be a great midfield. But I think, maybe there's more to it than we see with Ramiro, because clearly he's a Quill guy. He's going to leave him in there. He's going to live or die by Ramiro in midfield at this point.
Well, two things there. I do sort of agree with Sam that, but with you too, Ryan, about the trust thing. But I think the more Eric Quill sees out of Ka'ike, he's saying the same things we are. Mm-hmm. I think he's building more trust. I think he's gaining more of Eric Quill's trust. And on Ramiro, I'll just say it over and over. When he plays with alongside a second midfielder in the middle, he gets caught up field too much. When he plays as a lone holding midfielder in that 4-3-1-2, whatever we're calling it, diamond midfield, whatever it is, or even a 4-3-3 that we've seen sometimes, when he plays as a lone holding midfielder and he has to stay back, I think he's better. So if it's if that's the role, then I'm still okay with Ramiro. I don't know. KK looks pretty comfortable when he plays that role as well, though.
Oh, yeah. I think Dallas has a nice problem on their hands because they've got 2 MLS-level starters to do it. It just kind of depends on what you want. And I'm always going to, just personal philosophy, I'm always going to look towards that future development. And I'd rather see the 19-year-old get those minutes and then you come in and bring that experience off the bench to close down games. But that's a personal philosophy choice.
If all things are equal, I think you're right. The other thing to consider here is that Ramiro did play a lot the other day. 6-hour flight, artificial turf. Warm day. I think he was chasing the game a lot today. He was often out of position behind the play. Maybe some of that is just physical fatigue.
Yeah, I mean, only one player for Dallas has started and played every minute. That's Osaze Urguide, who I don't think he's lost a step in terms of his physicality. I mean, Eric Quill talks about all the time his metrics are off the charts. For Ramiro, wrong side of 30. He's played now 14 games, started all of them, played nearly all the available minutes except for the one game he was suspended. I just wonder if he needs a rest. I mean, I think you think about ground coverage and running are related to stamina, but also when your legs are gone and you're maxed out at your cardio level, it's so hard to think through the game and make those, tactical decisions, those smart movements in midfield. It gets so much harder when you're more and more tired, and this was such a long week for Ramiro. I was surprised to see him go the distance today, but there were other positions that, like Marco Farfan had to come out of this game because he's coming back from a long-term injury. So I think there were other ways they had to go with the substitutions, but I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe Ramiro starts on the bench on Wednesday.
I think it's possible, and another thing I think we learned today, and Steve just led me right to it, I think the defense has some interesting pieces because we saw for the second straight game, or not straight game, but the second game, we saw Delalos Abubakar at right back. We saw Marco Farfan, as Ryan just mentioned, come in. He put in a good shift before he had to come off. But I think we're seeing that, is this defense perfect? No. But is it upgraded over last season? I think that's an unequivocal yes at this point.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of that is about Osaze Urgide, but also Shaq Moore. Listen, when I see defensive mistakes from this team right now, and I mentioned this in the pregame, I'm seeing it from Ramiro. I'm seeing some from Patrick Delgado. I see a couple of today moments I wish I didn't see from Pedrinho. I've seen Anderson Julio not in the right spot, Siki not. But these are all midfielders I'm talking about. Those are all defensive mistakes in the midfield. The back line, I thought Ibiaga very good today. He's got 11 defensive actions. He got 9 clearances. He was 2 for 3 on his duels. He did not foul at all today. It was a good day for him. Abubakar playing out of position. He had 10 defensive actions. I think he got stranded out there, but I think he did well enough. I think Osaze was he did make a big mistake at the end. That's the second time he's given up a penalty kick this year. But 97% passing. He only missed 31 out of 32. 13 defensive actions. Martin Paz, very sharp today. So, your back line is that good, and they got 2 good left backs now, and Marco and Nolan Norris. You're going to keep you in a lot of games, and I think that's what we saw today because, Ryan, I don't know what you saw here, but Ryan Kent on the left side was all they had today. That was really about it. Rusnak was pretty contained. Jesus Ferreira did have a couple of early chances, but again, that was off balls that came in from the left side. That was really about what they had. Nothing. I don't really remember anything else that Seattle really had that was effective against Dallas' back line.
No, when you come into this game, you know how Seattle wants to play. It's sort of positional play, system overload the side, and get players moving, and then counterpress when it turns over. Right, that's how they want to play. And maybe some moments in the counterpress they created some half chances, but I think if you rated Seattle based on what they were trying to do offensively, they did very little. The best chances were Jesus Ferreira from the doorstep, and he's so snake-bitten he couldn't score with 2 chances at it. And that's a whole other story that we can talk about another time. But outside of that, did they create any meaningful opportunities inside the Dallas 18? No.
Consider that they had 3.1 XG per MLS, and Jesus Ferreira had
a lot of that was.
I don't. Yeah. A lot of it was the Jesus thing, but I really think that MLS's XG is consistently way wonky. I wouldn't rely on it.
But either way, you're right. They showed it. It was 1.6, 15 minutes into the game, and so most of it was right there. And that's 2 sort of point blank chances that Paz was up for.
And that's also that's penalty XG as well. So that's 1.63 right. from Jesus. Yep. That's probably about 0.8 from Rusnak. So you're looking at basically nothing the rest of the way. And we talked coming into the season about the defensive depth. Well, you brought it up, Steve. Suddenly you've got 2 left backs you can trust in Marco and Nolan. You've got 3 what we believe to be reliable, and in one case potentially best in MLS, center back in Osaze. You've got 2 really quality goalkeepers in Martin Paz and his backup Michael Collodi. If you had a right back that you could really trust as a dedicated right back, I'm not talking about like Ramiro or Lawless playing in that spot, you could sit there and say Dallas went from a group that you didn't feel good about at all last year to a group that's one of the more underrated in MLS at this point.
Yeah, it's just got to turn into results, right? The clean sheets, for whatever reason, they haven't come. Every game you can look at it and you can say, okay, this game, it's a soft foul here, it's a shot from distance here. But ultimately, if you want it, we can have our opinions because we watch the team every week, but if you want there to be any national attention, you got to get shutouts. Mm-hmm. You got to, if you're a defender, you got to score goals. These are things that ultimately you're not judged on when you're making decisions about who stays and who gets a contract extension and all these things, but that's how you're judged on in terms of the national media. And so far, Dallas, just a couple of clean sheets on the season. That'll be something that they need to improve if they want to get that recognition. But I think you're right in that the individuals across the back line have really improved.
Sam Hale, may I be recognized?
Chair recognizes Steve Davis.
Thank you, sir. Can I introduce something here that it sort of popped into my mind? Maybe this is a longer conversation for the Agenda podcast that everybody should listen to this week.
Download every Wednesday or Friday on the FC Dallas Radio Network.
So, would you guys like to see personnel-wise, via trade, as the window opens again a little bit later this summer, does Dallas have a specialty person in outside midfielder? Because today, think about who they end up being in a 4-4-2 a lot these days, whether it's just defending out of it or sort of playing out of it or 4-4-1-1. But who played outside back today? Everybody who played outside midfielder, or even going back to when Paxton was there the other day.
Siki did it today. Shaq did it today. I think Pedrinho was there for a minute.
Bernie, they don't have. If they're going to play 4-4-2, then find me somebody who's actually a specialty. That's his specialty, playing that outside midfield position. I don't know. That just popped into my mind.
Do you think that Leo Chu would quantify as that?
I think he's a winger. I think they got plenty of wingers. I think they got plenty of central midfielders. But even somebody that they can bring off the bench. Again, it's Paulo Ariola. I think is a real good one. Even though he's sort of a winger, I think we all sort of always saw him as probably a better outside midfielder if you're playing a 4-4-2. Look, if you're playing 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 or whatever, you don't need these outside midfielders, these specialized players. But they end up being in 4-4-2 a lot these days.
I think that's a very interesting proposition, and I think that's one of the things that, as Quill kind of figures out what he still wants to do, because we're 15 match days in, and I think we still don't have a super cohesive idea of what the offensive best 11 is. I think that's an interesting possibility. I will say that does lead me to one of my other, I think, things we learned. I think we may be in the Bernie Kamungo resurgence at this point. I don't think he had his best game today necessarily.
But he was so much sharper, right?
It wasn't bad.
Yes.
He got shots on target. He kept the ball. I mean, he
looked more confident.
He just looked like he had the confidence coming out of Wednesday. And whatever they told him before Wednesday, I mean, it may have totally turned his season around.
I mean, even when he
can be reliable, I think.
Even when he smacked a ball, it went right at Fry from a sort of not a great angle, not a bad angle, but I was like, that's okay. I feel like we've seen too much this year that Bernie might have taken that and not taken that shot. Maybe just recycled the ball. But I didn't mind the shot, and I think it showed us that he is a confident player right now.
And we've been asking somebody to hold the width. We know even players that have played wide have tilted inside, particularly Anderson Julio, and he came in and he held the width, and he was a handful for the right side of the Seattle back line. So I think he had that tactical discipline, or maybe you just say those are his tendencies as opposed to an Anderson Julio whose tendencies are to tilt inside. Either way, he's showing you that he can be the one to hold the width.
That's exactly the reason I liked having him out there today, because FC Dallas was able to consistently look for him and find him out wide, and it gave Seattle problems. And mainly, what was one of the things we complained about really leading up to this road trip? Dallas was always just clumped around that middle, that zone 14. Well, having a guy like Bernie has really given them some space to operate. I mean, we saw Ramiro finally get to that kind of right around the 18-yard box. He had enough room to smack one that almost went in. He had a really good attempt, and that's not a normal scoring guy. I think we've seen that Bernie's resurgence is giving Dallas some of the width they need and just giving them some depth that they need. And if we're talking about depth as well, again, he didn't score today, but, man, you saw why you like Logan Farrington, even if it's more for 30 minutes than 60 minutes today, because the dude just goes in there and he draws fouls and he's able to hold up the ball for you. He just does such useful things. I don't know if that means he'll be a starter full-time, but for what he is and what he can be for a squad, I'd much rather have him than not at this point.
Yeah, no, he had a good game. I think he put in a good hour-long shift, and I was a little – I mean, I don't know what you think about this. Obviously, you're bringing Musa into the game, but I was a little surprised that he came out when he did, because I think he was having a pretty big influence on things, and we've seen them play together in different formations, different alignments. I don't know what it would have looked like, because at that point they went to Shaq Moore on right midfield, Bernie Kamungo left midfield. So maybe there's not a spot for Logan, in that way. But I thought he had probably his best all-around performance. His goal came back against Chicago. He had an assist at one point. But in terms of helping the team in different ways, I think this was his best game.
100%. I thought it was interesting. If you heard our broadcast, we talked about how the first two times they targeted Logan Farrington, they went try to play over or through, get him right into a foot race. That's not his game. And after that, it was check back, and I thought he was exceptional. I thought he was really good at providing that target press presence, a reference point. But once you provide it, you also have to do the work with your body, with your feet, and I thought he did all that. I thought it was, all in all, I would have liked to have seen him do more inside the penalty area, but he's got to have the service. He wasn't really getting it. So all things considered, I think one of his best performances this year.
I think, because we're not going to record the FC Dallas agenda until after the Cincinnati game, I think it's worth talking about it now. The team playing without Lucho Acosta completely. He has not started once previously. That was at Minnesota, and they brought him in. Just interested to see what you guys think about how the team lined up, how they were able to play differently, maybe what they were lacking in not having a player like that out there, because obviously the one to look at was Pedrinho, who was sort of playing in a similar role, but I think he brings a different set of qualities than Lucho does.
Yeah, so Pedrinho played mostly as a right-sided midfielder. They sort of shifted into something when they had the ball, but they were defending out of a 4-4-1-1. And one of the things that I liked about that is reliably they're defending with 8. When Lucho Acosta is out there, particularly when he's out there with Anderson Julio, they often get caught defending with 7. And sometimes that's just not enough. So I did appreciate that about the way the team was set up today.
Yeah, I think Steve is right on the money there. Even though I think we saw, specifically in the New York game, we saw a much better defensive effort from Lucho than we've seen most of the season. He wasn't perfect, but he did do more running than I had seen all season. I think it's an interesting experiment to see how it looks without a guy that does or doesn't do the things he is. I still think this team is ultimately better with him on the pitch, but I'm not sure, A, what the margins are, which is concerning in that way, and B, I still wonder if they've figured out exactly what they want, what Lucho wants to be, and if Lucho has figured out what he wants to be at this age and at this skill level.
It's a big game for him on Wednesday, right? I mean,
really
the way that he left Cincinnati, it was not amicably. Just say it that way.
He forced his way out. I think we can say it.
He forced his way out, and I think they're happy with their end of the trade in terms of bringing Evander in. I think we have seen moments where we can see a glimpse of where he can take us as a team, but it hasn't come together, right? And he's sat and watched, from home today, or I don't know if he was there. I don't know if he traveled with the team or not. He sat and watched this game, and I'm sure he would have just been dying to be involved. I mean, if you could have brought him in the second half to try and snatch something, that would have been huge, like they did, or they tried to do in Minnesota earlier in the season. So I think if there's one game that he had circled on this calendar, it's going to Cincinnati. And, playing against his former team, a lot of friends, and his former coach and the front office who he fell out with. So I think we're going to see an angry Lucho. And if Eric Quill can harness that energy and sort of bring the team up and help Lucho in all the best ways, and we can see him at his best, and it could be really fun on Wednesday. I think I'm looking forward to seeing how he responds and how the reception that he gets as well from the crowd. It should be interesting.
One small note before we move on to Cincinnati here. I want to give credit to something Quill did, specifically when he made his triple change, and that was, we talked about Ryan Kent getting a lot of action in that first half. When Shaq Moore came in, that really gave the ability for him to take over on Kent, and it also took a little bit of responsibility off Lawless. So, I don't want to spend too long on it, but just a nice hat tip for Quill to recognize that. We're seeing he's still very good at tactical recognition and making those sort of changes. But as Ryan just mentioned, it is Cincinnati time. On Wednesday, Dallas will come home and then go up to the Queen City. And, man, Steve, the three of us watched Hell is Real when we had the rain delay a couple weeks ago against Houston, and man, that is a really, really good team. But you are going to have a hopefully super motivated Lucho Acosta. This could be a big match in either direction for Dallas at this rate.
So a couple of things here. Cincinnati doesn't play until tomorrow. They play at Atlanta. Ooh. Dallas actually has an extra day of rest.
Much needed.
Right. Cincinnati, I know Dallas just played on turf. Sometimes it's a little harder to recover. Cincinnati will also play on artificial turf. So, and look what you have now. You guys just mentioned you have Lucho Acosta, who is motivated and rested. Hated not to have him available for today, but now it's going to pay off. You got Paxton Pomykal, who just showed that he can go an hour the other day.
Yeah, so maybe he could start. It's not crazy.
It's not out of the realm of possibility. Musa, Bernie, Kaike, they only played 30 minutes today. They should have a little bit left. You got Nolan Norris, fully rested. Marco Farfan didn't have to go the full way today. So now that you've rotated a little bit, I'm not saying everybody's going to be fresh as a daisy, especially along that back line. They all played a lot today. But you've got some options now, and now guys did get a little bit of rest. So I'm not saying that you love FC Dallas's chances going into Cincinnati, but Cincinnati playing against an Eastern Conference rival tomorrow, having to travel on I don't know whether they'll travel tomorrow after the game. Probably they may
I think
wait
it's a midday game.
No, it's a 6 p.m.
6
start.
p.m. Okay,
yeah,
that's
6
a later
p.m. start
game.
tomorrow.
Okay.
So they may not actually travel until Monday. So look, there are some reasons to be optimistic for Dallas.
And also, I saw some of the training pictures from Seattle. Sebastian Legette's on this trip. I don't think there's any, I don't think he's in any quality to start. But if
he's close. I don't know where he's at in the recovery
I don't
process
either.
exactly, but the photos that
10
I
minutes
saw,
maybe?
Photos that I saw, both he and Leo Chu doing full sprints. So I mean, that's usually the last step before you join full team training, and it would be great to get a player like that back, because there's even, I think this midfield was sort of makeshift today to start the game. Show and Patrickson and Pedrinho and Ramiro. And they all had good moments, and they all equally had bad moments. And I think Legette is a guy that just is so consistent. Does he ever have super standout moments? Maybe once or twice a season. I think we saw his assist against Kansas City would certainly count as sort of that standout moment. But he is a baseline, floor-setting guy that is just so consistent. And if they can get him back, I feel like all season we've been saying, like, if we can get this guy back, But that's the reality when you have highly paid players that miss time, whether it was Paxton Pomykal, Sebastian Legette, Petar Musa, it's going to massively affect your ability to get results in this league.
What I always say about a guy like that is he going to give you a bunch of 8s and 9s? Maybe not. Maybe he has those in his pocket every now and then. But he's mostly going to give you a bunch of 6s. He's not going to give any 3s or 4s. He's going to give you a 6 and a 7. Something like that. So it's valuable.
It's Dallas charging towards the finish line here till the 31st, which is Philadelphia at home, and then you get 2 weeks for the international break. And if they can just get there without any major road bumps, they can probably get everyone healed up. And then by the time they come back on the 14th, who knows what the lineup will look like. I'm sure we'll discuss that on the FC Dallas agenda over the coming weeks as we go. But that's going to do it for today's postgame show. FC Dallas valiant in defeat 1-0 at Lumen Field, as the chamber of horrors that is Seattle remains as such. The soccer gods still very mad at FC Dallas. We'll check in with them on Wednesday. They head to Cincinnati to face off against Pat Noonan's squad. It's the Lucho Acosta Derby, the only one we're set for this year. So that'll be kickoff at 6:30 from Cincinnati, which means pregame on the FC Dallas Radio Network will start at 6 o'clock. But for engineer Barry Walters, for Ryan Figert, for Steve Davis, I have been Sam Hale. You've been listening to FC Dallas Soccer, presented by Toyota on the FC Dallas Radio Network.
The preceding broadcast has been a presentation of the FC Dallas Radio Network.
Want to hear something incredible? That's Eleanor. Just 10 hours after being born, Eleanor was airlifted to Children's Health and met by our expert